We are now live. I'm not going to go, oh no, we're live. Like, as if I don't know we're live.
Well, so, that happens because, just...
Well, sometimes we
doesn't
forget.
Come on and then we're just waiting for it.
Yeah, so we're waiting for it. So, listen, the previous lives are a bit emotional, I confess. That's because I'm so tired of a cold world. And that's why it's all heating up, because everyone's so cold on the surface and festering on the inside. No, I say cold, not emotionless. Emotionless is different. That's something else, but it's certainly not as bad. Well, this is what am I talking about here? Okay, I am emotional. I'm an emotional person, and I no longer see that as something bad. I now see that as something to be proud of, because despite everything I have been through, I still manage to love and trust and care for others and have compassion. That I have chosen to view my life from a ratio of privilege to abuse. And therefore, I've gone, oh, look, yeah, but I got a lot of privilege. So I feel that because of that, I have been able to be compassionate, and not compassionate, but with empathy, and fight for people while also knowing that I have a right to live well, because I deserve to live well, and so does everyone else. But living well with equity does mean there are tiers of equity. So there's a hierarchy, a natural biological hierarchy. And it means it's good for everybody. We've talked about this many times, the tiers of equity, and we talked about it on Radio Fly. Excuse me. So it's, I don't know. I'm a little bit confused about what happened today, and also annoyed at being so emotional about it, which could have been truly simple mistakes, but it just felt like I was being edged out. I felt like I was being pushed off the stage before I was even allowed to be on it. And I don't quite understand. And before I start what it is I wanted to talk about, and what this is I feel that this is what I would have said if I was given the chance to tell a little bit of my personal story, which I believe is part of Fiji's urban history.
I think so. It's a very important part.
And I feel that people might want to hear it, to hear how it was back in the 80s and 90s. But, I understand delay. We all know Fiji time, but also that's no longer a thing. I think it's Sydney time as well. Traffic is so bad. Trains don't work. All of a sudden you get to the train station, they say, oh, sorry, no trains, and you've got to take a bus somewhere and all this stuff, and we had to Uber it, and it was all just, I thought the fastest way there would be by train. Turns out it was just the longest. Oh my gosh. This is why people complain about public transport.
Yeah, and it looked like it'd be the easiest way to get.
Yes, I thought so. Anyway. But I understand delays. But then I have been asked by the organizers, who I thought, or I feel, held me in some regard, or hold me in some regard, and otherwise I don't understand what's going on. Why did I get asked by two people of high regard themselves, of high standing, of achievement, of merit, not just because somebody gave it to them? So that's and great for them, good. I'm happy that they get their rewards. I'm happy that one of them has been recently given a job that I think, well, good, yes, finally someone right has been matched to the job. It's a big job, So I like that. I like it very much. I'm very happy about that. So he asked me, so of course I was like, well, okay, thank you very much. Thank you for respecting me. because otherwise I don't understand. But let's backtrack here. So these are people, the people who asked me are people of merit.
Yeah.
They're people who achieve, and they're people who are comfortable in themselves, so they look at other people for who that person is. Okay?
Yeah.
And but not from an insecurity point of view. And sometimes it's from even if it's an arrogant point of view, like, well, I'm better than this person, but she's helpful and I like her style.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I'll use her, but I'll elevate her too. Cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Use me, elevate us, but use us. Go right ahead. You take the fame. We just want the money. I'm fine with that. But I don't understand why then they asked me to do this. One specifically said, hey, just talk for an hour or two. You're a natural.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh gosh, okay, but so then you do know what I am like. I am a natural at this. I can talk forever. So I was looking forward to this.
So was I.
I was excited. I was like, okay, wow, because I have now warmed up and I'm ready to take over these stages, to talk about the history of Fiji, to talk about my part in it, to talk about other people in good ways. There's a lot of bad shit. Don't think I'm looking at Fiji through rose-colored glasses or some romantic idea of elitism. No. Yes, there's a lot of privilege, but not elitism. I know how problematic it is and was. I lived through a very terrible time of it, personally and collectively. Anyway, I have stories, and I was looking forward to sharing one. So I've been holding back some things, even though none of this is edited and scripted. None of this is scripted. None of it's scheduled. So I was just, please do check the audio, darling. I would hate to lose this. Okay, great. I have sort of held back in things I've been talking about because I didn't want to say too much about Fiji because I wanted to talk about Fiji because, you know, I was going to be talking on stage and I was hoping that there'd be people there who'd be interested. Even if they didn't know who I was. I don't know if I care if you don't know who I was, but don't you want to hear what I have to say?
And it looked like there were people from that era.
They were.
So there was so many, and you got recognized?
Yes, I got recognized, and people were like, even somebody, a complete stranger, and I'll get to that. So I was recognized, but I had been recognized originally by the people who'd asked me, who are, I think, the organizers of this. And this is where I have to say one thing. This is what I was talking about, people of merit versus the buffers in between. And I had talked about this thing about fame and how many sponges there are. When I say sponges, I mean buffer zones. How many mattresses are between the famous person and the public. There's a lot of public relations and managing and agency and profiteering in studios, you know, games, manipulation. There's a lot of that. Media is for or against, and depending who's got the public's attention, that celebrity is loved or hated. So, but sometimes famous people are in awe of other famous people because they know what it sort of takes to be like this, because they're like that themselves.
There's a respect, right?
There's a respect, like, I know what it takes to do this. I know what it takes to be like this, to think like this, to think outside the square, to think of using yourself for the collective, but really showcasing your skills and having your message being heard by, the bigger the platform, the more the people get to hear it, because you've got a message, or you've got some action. But then there's all the people who aren't actually like that. There's a lot of people who just want something for themselves. And these people actively dislike others who can take the stage away.
Yeah.
I really feel that I was actively disliked today.
I think so too. I saw it.
Because that's what I was saying. I understand delay. But there was a lot of opportunity to continue the time allotted to me in the first place, because I was originally given 2, and then I said, no, 1 is fine because you and I were doing our lives. And I thought, oh, great, 1 hour is fine, sufficient. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think an hour is juicy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking forward to that hour. I think I was really looking forward to, and I did sort of subliminally plan because of what I wore. And I deliberately wore, and I'll put as the cover photo for this, what Dwayne and I wore today. I wore something very important, and I wanted to talk about it. Well, okay, yes, I'll bring it over. Thank you, darling. Gosh, I'm going to get emotional again. I'm such a basket case.
My bad.
Thank you, my darling. So I dressed, and I had my cap, and in the background up here, well, which is actually back there for us, our hallway, my vintage coat rack, which actually holds all our vintage trench coats and the Cougars, which we use, by the way. I'm sorry, I'm an over explainer. I wore this, and I don't know. I knew how I would look. I would look like the colors of the flag. Oh, but only subliminal, though, because I knew that I was, I don't know.
Represented.
Yeah, but for me, this is the color. These are the colors of Fiji, and I don't know. I feel weirdly sabotaged. But anyway, let me just explain to you what I'm wearing. What I was wearing. So I was wearing the trench coat, not this cardigan. It's vintage. I'm wearing the shirt, and this is what I wore today. And the shirt is a Tiki Togs shirt from the 80s. And it's a men's shirt. And that's what I wore. And I wore like an old pair of classic tailored expensive pants I have, which can fit me again. I don't mean to say it that way, like, ooh, but I like being fit again. I like being healthy from the inside out. I like I'm not skinny. I don't want to be thin. I'm curvaceous and not bloated. So everything's flat and back to being my structure. And it feels nice to be healthy from the inside, not bloated. Mm. I feel nice. So it's nice to be able to fit into all my old clothes. It's really lovely. Yes. And then over that I had pleated, and wrapped the sari. The sari belonged to my mother and is the first sari I wore when I read the news in February 1992 for the Fiji National Video Center for Fiji TV. That was the news. My first news run, I didn't wear a sari. I wore a white shirt. I quickly realized that was the wrong thing to do. When I watched myself, my head was back. I pulled my hair back. Excuse me, I don't mean to cough. I have to cough though. I'm not unwell. I've just been crying a bit because I'm a big emotional softie. Is that okay?
That's fine.
So the first one was, I'm a woman in my 50s, I'm emotional. So yes, and when I saw myself that night, the first time I read the news, I was wearing the white shirt and my hair was up and I hated how I looked. It's like, oh, I'm not going to wear that. Obviously, don't wear white, okay? It bleeds. It's not nice. I don't know, technology is different now, so back then, you don't wear white. And if you're going to wear a shirt, sit on the shirt bottom, the hem, so that it doesn't pull up when you sit down, because everything hunches up. So, anyway, and also when presenting to camera, sit forward. And so you look more assertive, and you're not nodding your head back. So all these things. So
you look like you know what you're talking about.
Yes. So I was an old hat at being a voice person. I had been on radio for a while now, and I was in school. I was always asked to come up and speak and orate and talk, and everyone used to groan because it's me again. It's like I loved reading things out. I loved using my voice to convey a message or a story or something. I loved it. Anyway. So yeah. But I had to then work on the visual side. So I was a model as well. And I knew how to use my visual side, but I realized, you know what, just wear something glamorous. But don't wear something sexy. Don't wear sexy, but be glamorous. Be elegant and glamorous. And credible. And true to yourself. Don't wear something that isn't you. Be yourself is what I thought. And then saris were it. Like, well, I love saris, and I'd always worn saris. And I used to tie them around and do whatever. And I've been doing that for a long time. So yeah, and this is the sari I wore, and I don't know. I think isn't that why people get excited about it when they read about what a celebrity did 30 years ago or something. They all go, "Oh my God, that's so amazing!" And it's like history or whatever. And I don't know. Do they? Maybe they don't. I don't know. Yeah, they get all excited about things. It's crazy. But anyway, so maybe it means more to me. But yeah, I guess that because I am sentimental, I value things. Things are of value to me. I'm not precious, so I just have left this on the floor. So I'm not precious. I use things. Because if things have value, they need to be used. They need to be showcased. They need to be protected and shown to people and worn for what they're meant to do. Adorn, So that to me just it's a bit of history, and I love it, and I thought it would mean something. And paired with this 80s tiki-tog shirt. I don't know. I had that story, and then I wanted to explain why it is that I was asked if I could speak for an hour or two. And, the assumption that anyone can just speak for an hour or two is amazing. But actually, yes, people can. I'm one of them. I'm one of those people that can do that. And I wanted to talk about why and how I can. I wanted to talk about some things. Anyway, but throughout the time then, it just got later and later, and no one was telling me what was happening. And it's like, okay, but surely someone can tell me I've been invited to speak. Why am I being treated like I've asked to come and speak? Why am I being made to feel like, well, give it, when does she want to, what does she want to do? It's like, what? I didn't ask this. I didn't say, can I come and speak at your event?
No one says that.
People do, apparently.
Yeah.
We photographed and filmed an event at Jubilee, and that demanding,
that's right.
demanding person, Miss Hustler, demands to sing. I mean, and all the musicians make fun of her behind her back, but behind her back only. And they come and tell us. Anyway. So, I don't know what happened, and it just got crazy. Like, this is a bit like, all right, I understand delay. I'm the only one hollering in the crowd for, the fantastic rap hip hop activist who performed. Like, wow, I was the only one, because she's amazing.
She's fantastic.
Shit. The crowd did not know what they were seeing, and this is what I was saying when you were filming, like, the crowd does not realize what they're seeing here. They're seeing a legend perform. They're never going to be this lucky, because she may completely, become a superstar next year. Or they just become immune to how good she is. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's what people do. And I know she wasn't supposed to MC, but she did a little. But I wasn't supposed to MC. I was supposed to come and speak. That's what I thought I was doing. And then it just got later and later, and then I walked away, and that lovely, lovely young woman with her baby wrapped to her chest. The baby is so beautiful.
Cheeks.
Oh my gosh, and asleep.
It was just cheeks.
Asleep amongst the noise of music and all people, etc. Speakers blaring. Baby was calmly asleep against mother's heartbeat. And I say young woman, she's probably about late 20s, but I'm in my 50s, so yeah, that's young. Very lovely, very respectful, doesn't know me. She ran after me in the crowd. She said, please, I would like to. I'm like, look, I don't mean to be difficult, but I've been made to feel like I'm nothing. Well, I didn't mean to. I don't expect to be treated like I'm a VIP, but I was asked to speak. And even if I had said, may I speak, you should still respect what it is.
Yeah, sure.
But here I am being sort of pushed aside because I had met the person who was organizing all of this. And this person, I immediately felt that very thing that people who are the buffer zones, not the stars, the buffer zones, they feel this way. And there is something about me that can make even the stars feel like buffer zones. And I don't know what it is. It's not something I do on purpose, but it is something I get punished for. And it's very upsetting. I mean, I don't know why. So anyway, I really felt it. I really immediately felt it, because all of a sudden I was, who? Oh my God. Shouldn't you know me? I've given you my details, my email, and if any person who is doing such a thing should actually have done their research on who their speaker is, so that everyone knows what's going on. I have given my full details of who I am. I certainly would want to know who is speaking and what do I know about them, and how can I, cross-promote them. And also just I want to know who else is speaking. It's like, ooh, I'm up against that. Okay, I better bring my A game. What? Yeah, so that's not what happened here. No, people brought their A game, but except for not everybody. And clearly my A game was just, I don't know. So I really felt like I was being pushed aside. And then when I did acquiesce and agree to stay back and be professional and like, okay, well, all right, I was asked and I understand delay and no one knew what was happening, and if I wanted to, I'm like, well, I've been waiting there, so clearly I'm here when I was asked to be here so that I could go on to my allotted time. I mean, because there's nothing else happening right now, so what's going on here? And it was very strange. It was like everyone was just sort of allotted spaces just so I didn't have my space.
Yeah, and they had the DJ playing for about an hour, which you could have easily.
Well, that's what this lovely young woman asked me to come back. But she said, "Oh no, the DJ can stop. You know, he'll stop and give him 5 minutes, and then you can have an hour to speak." And then she was so lovely to me. She, because she's an artist herself, and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I'm being so difficult, but I'm embarrassed. But I feel that way. I will never ever be a diva. I'm not demanding." So I just said, "Look, I'm feeling a bit embarrassed. I think we've all been given the wrong information. I thought I was invited, but I'm being treated like I have forced myself upon this platform. And now if I go, it's going to look like I'm throwing a tantrum and being unprofessional when that's not the case. I understand delays. I am a professional more so than most people. I understand. This wasn't a delay. This was..."
Yeah.
And then when I came back, the little things, I was given a microphone and like, okay, so, and I said, "Look, don't introduce me. I will just walk on and introduce myself and just say and explain why I'm here." So I said that. And then I was talking to the young woman. I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that I've come across a bit diva-ish, and I don't mean to be. I'm actually, I'm just embarrassed and I feel awkward and I'm humiliated. I don't chase all of this limelight and stuff like that." She said, "No, you've got to speak. I don't know you, and you have this aura." She said this to me. She said, I want to hear you speak." And I thought, okay, good. Great. So even people who don't know me know I've got stories. Sorry, I don't mean to be so emotional. But this was probably going to happen if I had spoken, because I was already emotional going into it. I was emotional when I heard the anthem. Oh my gosh, I'm so emotional. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I love that country so much when I'm clearly hated so much. But
I love you.
Oh, you're the best of the best, though. You're my match.
You're the best. Is that the bomb?
Oh, I would never be so arrogant. Never. There's room for all of us. You've got to understand there is a natural hierarchy. Some of us are just good at the things we do. Some just get given an ego. Oh, gosh. Anyway, it just got awkward because the DJ wasn't stopping and nothing was happening, and the
band was setting up.
The band was setting up. Like, what's going on? Why is the band setting up? Why shouldn't I be talking right now? What's going on? Who's this band? And then it's, I've got a microphone and blah, 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 and it's all just a bit awkward. The young woman's sort of like being told to come and say, I'm not being told anything by supposed organizers. I'm just being shunted around. I'm getting more and more embarrassed, more and more emotional, more and more because I recognize what's happening and I'm sick and tired of it because it's not my problem. Me crying is not because I feel so sorry for you people. What we could all do together in comparison to what you all want. Anyway, so, I'm told to go around the other side of the stage and get ready to go on. I'm like, okay. The band's setting up.
Okay. The band's on the stage, ready to play.
like, what is going on? Like, when am I supposed to talk? And the young woman's like, sort of like, well, you can go on now, but you're supposed to just introduce acts. I'm like, what? That's not what I was asked to do, and that's not what I'm here to do. I was here to talk about Fiji, not introduce a white band. I was there to talk a little bit about our history and my part of it, and how proud I am to be born in Fiji and brought up there. And when I finally got to live there, I knew that I was meant to be there anyway. God, I'm an emotional basket case. Seriously, I'm an embarrassment to my own self. Thank you, my darling. But anyway, that's what I got. I got that. So I said to the young woman, thank you, but that's not what I was. So we turned and left. And I talked very emotionally in the last live about why and what. So I wanted to just talk about right now, what I wanted to talk about was what I would have said, I feel. I want to start with that. I would have talked about what I'm wearing. But here is something, honey. I'm going to pass this by you. You know that person I said, let's not film because they want their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's got something to do with...
Yeah.
I did tell that person that I am wearing, and I'm going to say something. And they said, you don't have to do that. I'm like, yes, I do. It's my way of honoring. He says, you don't have to do that. And they try to really assert their version of God on me. And this is why I've been keeping my distance.
Mm-hmm.
Because they went through a really bad period in their lives, and that was their fault. They've lived a very privileged life.
Yeah.
And now they've turned to God because they can't face their own problems. They can't face their own part to play in their consequences. I hold this person in a very high regard because when I was young and impressionable, I needed these older role models. But now I see everyone for who they are. And it is my shoulders I am putting people on. I now see people for who they are. I saw this person talk to that person.
All right.
That's why I'm also embarrassed. Because this person I hold in high regard, who I am an archive of memories for, and I always talk about in such a way as if they were a literal queen, which at one stage I guess they were. What if this person secretly hates me? Because around this age they imploded. Lived on the streets. Maybe not literally. It's not even a secret because I found it quite by chance and have never mentioned it. It's there on Google. And I have never, ever, ever mentioned it, but I have respected deeply. I feel I've been sabotaged. and I'm embarrassed. I feel that people I have held in higher regard than they have held me. All of them. So maybe I am being taught a really big lesson here. Everyone uses me for something. But you said something, and I took a bit umbrage at it. You said that, but they don't respect you. And I was like, that's not true, they do. And I think you're right. So I don't know who I am meant for or why I have these stories, but I'm going to tell them now. I'm going to explain why I wore this shirt. And so, I feel that I would have started with that. I guess I would have, I don't know, maybe I would have just blurted out that, hey, actually, I'm really nervous. I'm always nervous. I'm always really nervous. I hope the sound is on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to lose this because this is, I am going to transport myself back to a few hours ago, back to this location where I was supposed to be on a stage talking for an hour. I had agreed to and was allocated 12:15 to 1:15. And I thought, okay, great. I mean, there's not really that many people there because people like to saunter in around, 1 o'clock around that time and then chill in the afternoon because it's cool. But yeah, but then there were people everywhere, it was great. And I thought, okay, great. And then I started seeing all these other people, and by these other people, I mean all these people from society from way back then as well, of a time that I was going to talk about. So I thought, this is great. This is absolutely great. Because it'll be pertinent to them.
Yeah.
Look, they all hate me for some reason or the other. And I don't really think it's me, except that I'm kind of obstinate and belligerent, and you fail me once, you are out of my life. Or you've lost my trust, and then you don't actually matter that much to me, and I'm happy to just let you go. If you fail me, you lose my trust in some way. No, that's not true either. You can't fail me, actually. You can't fail me. But you lose my trust. So delays are not a problem, because that's not a failure. That's, But anyway, so I'm, this is what, yeah, I think I would have admitted to everyone. So anyway, as I was saying in the audience, there's all these people who hate me for whatever reason. Because everybody wants a stage, everybody wants their own limelight, etc. They're all, have it, please have it. But I actually have the stories I think are pertinent. None of these things matter to you people, because everyone just says, oh, who cares? That was back then. Who cares that, whatever. Or people have forgotten things, or they were all too drunk or something. Whereas I retained everything, all my memories.
Maybe they don't want to remember.
Maybe they don't want to remember. I don't know. I remember all of it. I remember the bad. I remember my bad shit, I have been open and admitted those things. I'm transparent and I am private, so there are things I won't say and I won't ever name names. And I will keep secrets of my abuses, except my father's. My father was a tyrant and he broke my bones and my mother's bones, but not our spirits. Anyway, enough of that. I want to talk about what I was going to say. So I would have admitted to the audience, and I wouldn't have cared that my enemies or whatever, they're not my enemies, okay? You're kidding yourself if you think you're my enemy. You really are. For starters, I don't do enemies. And I also don't do friends. So let's get that one straight. I had written something on my Facebook earlier today. I said, look, I don't want to be a friendly old lady. I don't want to be liked. I don't want everyone to, want me, around, and I don't want to be popular. I'm aiming for scary. I'm aiming for scary woman. I'm not feared. I don't want to be feared. And I think I was trying to say that earlier today. I don't want to be feared. I think I was talking about something else. A good leader is, people, you should be scared of people, you shouldn't be like in fear of your life kind of thing. Consequences, not punishment. Right? So you're allowed to fail, but I don't know what I'm saying here, but I feel that, anyway, what was I saying? I'm always going all over the place. So I was, these people are there, right? All these people here. So the bad, they don't want to remember the bad, but you've got to remember your bad. You've got to be able to confront yourself. So I don't want to do that. So I have confronted all of that, and I'm really happy with who I am. So I'm aiming for scary, not feared, but I want people to be scared to lie around me, or because I exist. And that's something why I had said why I am at this late age, or right age, courting fame. Courting fame. I'm not chasing fame. I don't want it desperately. Look, it came to me naturally because of the things I did. People, back in those days, people made you famous, so it came to me naturally. And people recognized that and used me for it, but also rewarded me, sometimes exploited me. All right. But yeah, but now, because I feel I'm at the right maturity, and I have done the hard work. I've confronted myself. I've been in a war with myself. I've been trying to kill myself, literally. I have been fighting with myself. We were talking about mental health at Fiji Day today. Well, yeah, I have a lot to say about that too, because for 51 years almost, I have been suicidal. So I can tell you that yes, it is possible to thrive and live a privileged life and be happy and joyous and loving and sensitive and emotional, and want to kill yourself every day and somehow find the strength to carry on and live and thrive and not punish other people for the pain you're feeling, and not also abusing. I didn't want to abuse myself. So I wasn't a drunken idiot, a drugged out fool everywhere. I'm not saying those things are wrong. Those things are fun. And in one's youth, yes, you should absolutely have fun. But why are we all taught to obliterate our brain cells at the very ages our brains are forming? Why are we all looking for oblivion before we've even found ourselves? I don't get it. I never really did. And I think I recognized something in my childhood because I had such early abuse. But anyway, all of that led to me being suicidal and thriving. And I've done fantastic things. And as I have said before, if fame was my thing, I would be world famous by now. I've had 20 years. I've been in the limelight or in the public eye in some form, graduating for like 10 years back then. And then I have been productive in the last 2 decades. I have continued to create work and refine my skills and my talents and hone them and learn more and absorb things and grow to the point where I should be a world famous recognized talent. I don't care for that fame. I should just have that kind of recognition. Yes, I am that good at what I do, as is Dwayne. And I'm not saying that just because he's my husband. We are a match, and I would never have been with someone not on the same level as me. I don't believe in a hierarchy in this instance. I need someone who is absolutely solid in themselves and someone who is 100% for me, as I am. for Dwayne. And that's, in that sense, we are each other's best friend. So as I was saying, let me just finish what I was saying about the scary thing. So I said that I'm aiming for scary and not feared, but I don't want people to lie around me. I want people to be too scared to lie around me. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not lashing out at anyone, but look, I really don't want to talk to you anymore. And for some reason that really offends people, and they become so vicious with me, malicious when I confront them about themselves. Gosh, they're trying, God, are they way to sabotage me. Anyway, we are going off track. I'm so sorry. So I had written all of this stuff. I hadn't finished, and I'm going to go back to that. So you're going for a walk? Okay, great. May I, if you're going to get some tea, my darling, I will continue having this conversation. Excuse me. I do get thirsty. I have been talking all day. Just because I wasn't given a stage doesn't mean I'm going to stop talking. That's the whole point of talent. Talent means you're just going to do the thing. It doesn't matter. You don't need a stage. Talent means you're just going to do the thing. I believe that's a term now. It suits the thing. It makes sense. I think it's the full pop culture Eurostream, Black American actually, pop culture thing is Angela Bassett did the thing. Yeah. I love Angela Bassett, but she, she didn't really deserve the Oscar. Sorry, the American Oscar awards, because she just played Angela Bassett as herself, as Queen of Wakanda. Angela Bassett's a queen, full stop. You've got to give Angela Bassett the kind of roles that show Angela Bassett, the actor. Angela Bassett is a queen. Anyway, let's go back to what I'm saying. So I'm a bit disappointed. So anyway, I had said, so sorry, I'm going to finish about what I had said about scary and also not feared, just scared, and also transparent. So I want to be as transparent as possible so that, thank you, my darling. That's lovely. I'm happy with who I am. And yes, I've done some bad shit. Who hasn't? Oh God. And the people who didn't, well, they went and scurried off to monasteries and nunneries and gosh knows what, and Catholic churches. Anyway, all of it. It's crazy. Not even just one religion. All religions have their good things, because religion is just meant to be guidance. It's just meant to guide people. It wasn't meant to control people. Not everybody is given the ability. Sorry, I'm fiddling with the microphone. Not everyone is given the ability to self-guide. Not govern, guide. So anyway, so I love transparency, and as I said, I'm transparent, but my privacy is also stay private, it's cool. Have some stuff to yourself, but always have at least one person who knows everything about you. So for some one person at least, nothing's a surprise. To one person, and for me, luckily, my best friend also happens to be my husband, the man I'm in love with. So it's, we fulfill that for each other. So, all of it. So it's great to have that one person be that one person I can be absolutely transparent with. So if some idiot wants to say some bullshit, usually there might be some things that have some truth, I did like sex back in the day. But it's like, sex, whatever. How do you think we all got here? And a lot of the stuff you hear, bullshit. No. Say whatever you want. And if you do think you saw something, what were you doing looking for it, dickhead? What were you doing watching it? Oh, and you should know that you are a criminal, because if you did see what you thought you saw, it was taken without my consent, and therefore you criminal, we're after you. Keep showing us who you are. Keep showing us that ISP. Anyway, people are weird. So those things perhaps I wouldn't have said on, today. But I was going to finish what I had written on Facebook. So I said I would be transparent. And for a lot of people who read all of that and scoff, they think, that means alone. They think that scary and transparent means alone. That's not what that means to me, because I have all the friend I need. So I'm cool. It's good. I like everybody, and I love seeing groups of friends. I love it. I truly do. It's so much fun watching everybody. I have slipped in and out of groups my entire life. I love it. It's fun. I love being with groups of women. Women in a group are so much fun. And I can imagine guys in a group, or non-binary people, queer people, anyone in a group, or everyone in a group of multi everything. Because there's one human with lots of variations, so multi-variation humans. Oh, it's fun. But I love being in a group of women who are all just having fun. It's great. We're getting close, and we're all talking about things and revealing things about ourselves. It's so great. And forgiving. We're so forgiving of each other when we like each other. But fuck, women hate each other sometimes. Excuse my language. Oh, good Lord. It's also based on ridiculous things, based on insecurities. And I know it's easier said than privilege, or however privilege is seen and divided up. But I'm just my privileges now actually are my disadvantages, but still privileges. I recognize that. So I've never thought of myself as at disadvantage at any time, but I also know that other people need to assert themselves. So I'm a cis het woman. I was assigned female at birth, and that is what I am. I'm a woman. I'm a brown woman. I'm an Indo-Fijian woman. I'm an educated, cultured, sophisticated, blah, blah, bullshit. That's all construct crap. Who cares about all that stuff? That's all. I'm a product of colonization, and I love it. I love that my ancestors, whoever they were, I don't know them. I don't know my family. I don't know my family history. I don't care. And I found some interesting things out about my line, which ends with me. And actually, would you believe it? Started with me. This name I have started with me and ends with me. And I love it. Because I don't know, I have a brother, and I don't know anything about me because he hates me, because I made him confront himself after my mother died. I say my mother because he's nasty to her. And I don't want him to call her mother him. I don't want him to say that, because my mother is a god. And she's my God. How would you feel? And I know how you feel, because I know how you feel when someone is ridiculing your God. And therefore you. But sometimes I understand that it's no, don't ridicule my God. I love my God. So anyway, that's why I've cut my brother out. And I've also cut a lot of other people out who are important to me. I love my brother. I miss him. I miss him so much. I'm so tempted to. I just send endless messages, to him, and he ignores all of it, because when I finally broke, and I finally told him I broke. I've been suicidal, and I broke, and I've been healing, and I'm fragile. I'm raw. I feel pulverized. The bones of my brain broke, and I've had to heal myself by myself. Because even though I am pro-medicine, and I encourage and support you in your quest for therapy, however way you want to find it. But for me, the Eurostream academic old man shit wasn't going to cut it. I didn't want those words in my head. I didn't want anybody else's words in my head, because I wanted to hear myself finally. I didn't want to mask my words. I had to confront myself. I had to acknowledge that I needed help. I had to acknowledge why. It's been so amazing. I assure you, when you come out the other end, when you save yourself from killing yourself, when your bluff gets called, and when you win this battle and allow your other sides to just rest now, like it's okay. Because you've got to keep your sides, all of you make up you. It's not sides of you, it's all facets of you. So you've got to acknowledge that bad side, or the miserable side, or that slightly evil side, whatever. Make them work for your good side. Make your bad side make you, what they call a badass. Make your evil side just sort of not trust everybody that much. Thank you, my darling. This is my husband's beautiful ginger tea, flavored and spiced with cloves and cardamom, made and brewed every morning. Those of you who watch us on the Daily Egg know that. Anyway, so look, this is not what I was going to say at the speech, so this is all behind the scenes stuff, just between us. I was going to say a few things. I've actually forgotten where I was. I'm sorry about that. I do tend to lose my thread. Look, let's move on. Let's move on, right? Because I don't know where I was. And at this stage of the live, there's no one really here, but it's exciting being live. I've never really needed an audience. Let me tell you about that time. I was singing in Hong Kong, and I was hired because employed or contracted and made to be a star because the general manager of the Sheraton Hong Kong, or of the hotel Hong Kong, had seen me singing in the equivalent in Fiji, and I had packed in the crowds because my jazz trio was, we were really cool and, whatever, and the lounge was packed, and the general manager wanted that for their lounge, and that's what happened. So I was contracted, and when we started, it was empty. It was like really empty, but, I sang in my glamorous gowns, a lot of them from Fiji, by the designers at the time, with my, we were a trio, so I had Bully on guitar, and oh my gosh, give me, I have forgotten the names, the treasured names of the musicians who accompanied me to Hong Kong. My sincere apologies. I have kept their photos, their information, their news clippings, all we had. I loved them. They were wonderful to be with. And I'm so sorry that I am an old woman. We're talking about things that have happened almost 30 years ago. I do have good memory because I didn't drink that much, but hey, I did have fun. But also, I don't understand why we think alcohol is fun. Anyway, I'm glad that I was able to have fun without alcohol, or if I did have alcohol, I also had a lot of intelligent fun because the guys I liked and the ones who liked me, we were all very weird, which meant we were intelligent. Or we didn't mind our intelligence and expanding it and being different and liking our differences. So I've always enjoyed that about the partnerships I've had, intimate relationships. Gosh, I do digress. I've forgotten what I was going to say. So let me start about what I was going to say at the official, celebration day, whatever, if I had been given the chance to be on stage. And so I had actually said, look, don't introduce me. It doesn't matter who I am, really. But hear me out. I've got some good stories. So, my eyeshadow's hitting the light in all the wrong ways, so it looks like I've got some weird eye action happening, and I've got really dark blue. Listen, I've got to show you. It matches. No, I'm not nuts. Seriously, don't you want to see? Aren't you curious? What does she have got on her eyes? And there are lots of people like me, curious, who want to know what's happening. Okay, so, yes, I would have gone on and said, hello, Mullah, namaste, g'day, I guess, and I would have acknowledged the land we're on, although people had done so already. Ooh, I'm cramping. People had done so. I haven't had enough water today. But I like to acknowledge it in a slightly different way, because I want it to be heard as I really do value this land we tread on as invaders, even though we are allies. It matters to me what happens to you on your land, the land that was stolen, and then that is now the modern day Australia, 235-year-old Australia. So I would acknowledge it with a bit more personal, if it wasn't considered, I don't know, but I just acknowledge how we must tread lightly. We are on sacred land, and it's stolen, and people own houses on them, which, that's not our fault. I mean, the First Nations people aren't asking us all to go back home. They're living with us. It's funny how there are people from all over the place living here, but so many of us, like even people from the country we were born in, actually want my kind to go back home. And if they say it to Dwayne, well, where's home for him? He's triracial. He's Chinese. He's, quarter indigenous, quarter Kaiviti, and half Indo-Fijian, but not quite Indian. So he doesn't know anything doesn't speak the language or anything. So he is a Kailoma, but hasn't got colonizer blood, so which I like anyway. But so what do you say to Dwayne? But this isn't stuff we were going to say. But I get a bit confused about things. Anyway, so I was going to say who I am, or not who I am, but like hello. My name is Sandhya Nand. And it may not mean much to anybody, but maybe somebody's going to recognize it and go, oh, good, we've got a good story coming. Maybe that's all that needs to be recognized when somebody says my name, that, oh, no, she's got good memory for good things, and she's got some good stories, and hear her out. I don't know, maybe I'm full of myself. Maybe I recognize today, or I was made to feel today that I am less important than I thought I was. Not important, relevant. And I don't rely on people to remain relevant. I rely on my productivity and my work. My darling, can you check the sound? I'm always slightly nervous. I'm saying things that are valuable, I feel, because, once I say something, I can't remember really, because I write the script as I talk. So I just need to, and then I can also remember what I said. I did.
I'm just putting another product on.
Oh, lovely. All right. Thank you, my love. So so yes, that's all that stuff. So that's what I'm saying. So when I say my name, because lately, well, Dwayne gets a bit funny when he says my name. Like in a really beautifully respectful way, like I was Wonder Woman or something. I'm not Wonder Woman. I love Wonder Woman. I have no delusions of being Wonder Woman. Thank you. I am Wonder Woman's biggest fan, and I would love to be Wonder Woman's best friend, okay? I don't want to be Wonder Woman. Way too much pressure to save people who should just be... Yeah. Anyway. But unfortunately, I have some sort of weird complex to save everything. So here I go off context again. So I would have said my name, but and so just lately, and then someone I like, someone I respect, someone based in California doing amazing things for Fiji, from a person who has used privilege for good and doesn't actually rely on it. Like, I see this person, because they've got privilege. Name only, like, there's no wealth in Fiji. Oh, there is wealth. Don't get me wrong. Oh, there is wealth. Don't get me wrong. there's a disparity here. But you know, not always. Privilege doesn't always mean whatever. I don't know. Sometimes name privilege too. Okay. Anyway, and that's societal bullshit. But anyway, we all respect that, and it's funny. It bonds us all from people of different races. But this person said to me, because I had said there was this person who put up a post on Facebook and had said something about how the coach of the Fijian team is looked at, and the coach of the Fijian team was not born in Fiji, but he's Kaiviti. He was born in New Zealand and brought up in Australia, and he's a sophisticated man of the world. But there's lots of us born in Fiji who are sophisticated people of the world, I assure you. But, you know, what Mr. Rawalui knows is that he is Kaiviti, and that's why that team is functioning the way it is. I just had this thing about it. You know. And like, don't discount how important Indo-Fijians are to that. But right now, Indo-Fijians have been completely overlooked. I mean, let's talk about Ramachand sometime. Who, you ask? Oh, Ramachand. Well, one day Georgia's going to be making a lot of noise in the rugby world, and then you're going to be, oh my gosh, Ramachand. Well, we'll talk about Ramachand later. We've got some last pool matches coming up, so that's also what we're going to be talking about on Monday. But I do need to get to the speech. So so I would have said my name, because even if people, but I guess when you put a microphone in my hand, my voice changes, because right now I'm talking I have to make my voice higher, because my normal voice is quite low, and it makes me sound very serious, and it slows me down, because I need to focus on the topic at hand. And you're probably thinking, well, perhaps that's a better thing for you to do, so you don't become so scattered and talk from here and there and there. But see, I like to access the files in my mind. And to do that, I need to come up a little bit higher into my registers, which somehow takes me higher into my brain. Then I can talk a bit faster and access information in my brain. It's quite fascinating what the body and brain do in tandem when they're working in harmony. So I'm going to talk there. But so when I'm behind a microphone, though, my voice would have lowered, and I would have said my name in a voice that is familiar to a lot of people of a certain age. And I am not unfamiliar to people. People have stopped me. People stopped me, and I know people were looking at me. Some young people were, and I didn't quite understand why they were. Maybe because of the way I was dressed. Who knows? Maybe they thought I was like, who's this hobo? Who knows? Who knows? But I have done things with the Pacific community. And I love the Pacific. I love the Pacific, and I love that I was born in Fiji. I don't know how to say it. I love that I'm from Fiji. I get scared. Like, people have told me, you're not from Fiji. People have sworn at me on Twitter. Boo-hoo. People swear at everybody on Twitter. Get some thick skin. You say, I don't want to be thick-skinned. Ew. Thick-skinned means you can't feel anything, and I like feeling everything. But I just get really upset at why people say that. But also, like, who the F are you to say you don't know me? I don't know you. Why do I care if you don't know me? Is really how I feel. But hey, you should really listen to what I have to say. Educate yourself. As I was saying, don't discount Indo-Fijians in rugby, even the Indo-Fijians in the tryhards, the ones who really, really want to be noticed. They're also quite knowledgeable about rugby. We love rugby. You do understand that the British tried to colonize India. Rugby is in India. It's just that the grounds were too hard for the British and the weather was too hot, so they didn't want to play that game. They played cricket, which was fine. They could sweat in the whites, and the ground needed to be hard. The only reason Indians don't play rugby is that. But you should go and see what Rugby India is doing now. Anyway, I used to be a rugby journalist, and Dwayne can deconstruct a game and find what's happening like that, Anyway, let's move on from the rugby thing, but please do tune in to the Lives of Our Days when we do our rugby analysis. after each match, or the next day, a few hours after, something like that. But we'll have it up on our walls and also on our YouTube channel, STV. I really am getting to the speech. I would have introduced myself. And at the very least, the person who recognized me would have gone, ugh, I hate her, but I want to hear what she says. So that would have been fun. Hello, my beloved. God. Sorry. Yes, get a room, but as I keep saying, yes. But anyway, so I won't do the lower voice because this is just us. You're in our space. And, we're just having a conversation. So I don't need to do my microphone voice that comes across on radio and television and on the stage. I would have introduced myself and said my name. And I'd have also said, AKA Dusk Devi. And Dusk Devi is my pseudonym, my working name, my professional name. Only because I don't like the way people pronounce Sandhya. It's Sandhya or Sandhya or I don't know why it's so hard, but the Hindi script that is the letter that creates the D sound, the D sound is really difficult for people to pronounce if you weren't born to the language. So Sandhya is the closest I get, and it's still quite harsh when my name is actually quite soft despite having consonants. So I am getting to a point, I really am. What was I saying? I was saying something relevant. So yes, my name. I had said that. Oh, thank you, my darling. That if, I had asked them. You had heard me say, "Look, don't introduce me.
Yeah.
Don't introduce me. I'm happy to not be introduced because it's not about me. It's about what I have to say and the stories I've got to share. So great. Let's give me the microphone. I'll walk on when I'm supposed to because I'm supposed to talk for an hour because that's what you're saying to me right now. That I still have, this hour that you had asked me to do. Okay, great. I'm standing there. This hour is slowly becoming, is this hour shifting or is this hour decreasing?
Yeah, right.
It was all of a sudden like half an hour left. Like, well, am I still talking for an hour? What's going on here?
No, you have to introduce me.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Anyway, so, but besides that, so I'm now launching into the speech. So I would have introduced myself and I've just explained that why I would, right now I'm not going to go into my microphone voice because, well, that's, we're just at home. It's just us speaking. But on stage, with a microphone, my voice goes back to its lower registers and I ground down and I'm able to focus, I guess, and talk. I would have admitted to the crowd that actually I'm a bit nervous. I would have, acknowledged that, this was a bit, but I was asked by people I hold in high regard and esteem. Sorry, darling, move over.
No, it's okay.
And,
actually, I've still got tea.
Oh, okay. Right. And it was an honor to be asked by these people that I hold in high regard. And yes, I will, because they understand and they know that I have stories to tell and they recognize my talent and my ability to be able to speak forever. And we get to that point then, why I can speak forever. Why if you just put a microphone in my hand, I really can just continue speaking, not about crap, but I feel I have a lot of information in my head that I've accumulated over the years I used it to suppress my trauma. So the way people use alcohol and all those things to suppress trauma, because we all need to get on with life. So we all need to suppress trauma that we have suffered some way or the other. I used information. I loved information. So I used information to do that. And the Suva City Library, and Suva Grammar School, even the Utah Primary. Yeah. And Desai's were the best bookshops. Oh, wow. No censorship either. This is after the first two coups. 90s, when Sithiveni Rambuka was Prime Minister. Look, I'm not saying anything here, okay, because it's all a little bit less wait and see. I don't really know what's going on here. He did do the wrong thing, which he acknowledged, I think. But I think we've all found the truth about who actually was behind it and was pulling the strings. Anyway. But look, 90s was an incredible time in Suva, and this is what I wanted to talk about. Because the 90s is when I rose to prominence, for want of a better term. But let me first tell you about why I can talk forever. Because I have been on radio for a while. I first got the taste of radio when I was 12, and Auntie Adi's, afternoon with children or something. So Auntie Adi Karoy, Adelaide Karoy Senior, and she had a beautiful voice, and I was best friends with her daughter, and we're still connected. And so I got a chance to, we were the voices, we were given chances to talk on radio, and I loved it. It was such grave responsibility I took upon myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm being given a chance to talk so that the people of Fiji will hear what I have to say. I was so excited, and I remember taking it really seriously, and, if there was a question asked of me, I would take it seriously, and I would answer with true responsibility. I took it so seriously. I was such an intense child. I was a child of trauma and privilege, okay? A bit weird, according to other people. I was just intense. I didn't have time to talk about all small talk because, I don't know, I needed to go further to gain something. So I took things very seriously. But there's a lot of trauma involved around that time. So we won't talk about that right now, because that's certainly not what I was ever going to touch on. But maybe, who knows? I'm so emotional, who knows? And, the fabulous hip-hop activist, performer had already talked about mental health. Well, maybe I would have touched on it too. Maybe I would have said, look, it's more insidious than you think. It's more hidden than you think. Even the evil people, even the people who are out to ruin the world, they are terribly traumatized. Yeah, the whole, oh, you weren't breastfed and I can tell thing. It's not even that. Breastfeeding is not even a thing, but right, good on you people. Blame it on the mother. Breastfeeding has got nothing to do with it. Breastfeeding is great for the child if the child got lucky, or if the child's parent was able to do that. I was going to say lucky. I'm changing my language here. Yeah, it's get over yourselves. Don't blame it on women. Women have already done so much of the hard work of this. Always do. I haven't given birth ever, but I was the mother of 5 children for 2 decades. I do know what I'm talking about. I took them from babyhood to teenhood to adulthood. They're all in their 30s. The youngest is in the late 20s. I do know what I'm talking about with parenting. But because I've never wanted to be a mother, I've never had my emotions exploited. But motherhood, I felt it, that connection, woo, it's intense. But I can't talk about trauma. I can talk about mental health. So perhaps I would have touched on it a little bit. Because I do have to think about what it is. Oopsies. I'm sorry about the noise. If you've been having noise, it always happens. This is why, darling. Whoops! What was my darling doing? Well, I have to be aware of noise because the microphone had fallen and was brushing against my lapel. So I would like you to keep your phone with you so you could.
My mic's off.
Okay. Because I don't want this to be painful to listen to, and I'm sorry if that's been going on for a while. I hope it hasn't. We can't tell. This is live. I have to think of my brilliant, gorgeous, dynamic, charismatic. Everyone found him charming. This brilliant father, athletic. He used to box and all that. Well, he was terribly violent. No, now it is, but prior to it, I don't know, darling.
Oh.
Yeah, so. Because it was brushing up again. So that's what I'm saying. I needed to monitor what was happening. So look, I'm just going to do this, which is going to make the shirt look a bit boring because I've got a fabulous necklace underneath there. But I'll show you that later. Look. Yeah. Sorry about this. Look, if I had been given 1 hour, I would have done all this. This is my channel. I'm just going to digress all over the place. But if I was given an hour on a stage, I'm very structured. I know what and how to structure an hour. I'm a radio person, which I'm going to get back to right now. I started out on OBs. So I was talking about I could have talked about mental health because yes, I was born into privilege, extreme privilege and extreme trauma. So a lot of that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so when I went back to Fiji after boarding school, when I was finally allowed to go back home post-coup, I walked into FBC the next day and said, hey, put me on radio. I'm really good. And they went, okay, go into the studio. Okay. I got a job at FBC. The sassy, I used to wear sari tops and tight skirts, prance around everywhere in heels. I used to wear wrapped around saris. I used to be so fabulously fashion. And then I was also a model. And, I started we were doing double R FM, Radio Rock FM, all those things when FBC turned to FM stuff. But I was at RF3. I was on English radio. And one of the few, I think, Indo-Fijians. The others who were Indo-Fijians back then were not. It wasn't cool to be Indo-Fijian back then. So, you know what? I'm going to say I was the only Indo-Fijian on English radio. On FBC, I think FM 96 also had people. FM 96 was more diverse in who was on their English radio channel. So it was great. The station. So I loved being on radio. I really loved being on radio. I took this so seriously. Loved being on FM radio. Loved doing all the music. I played really obscure music, English music. We were double RFM, the people who were with it were really, really cool people. We knew music. We knew stuff. We used to get so much stuff in Fiji in the 80s, information about the world's music. We had Rick Dees, American Top 40. Before that, we had Casey, whoever did it before. I can't remember. Casey Kasem? I don't know. American music and British music. We had all the British pop stars and all the Australian music as well. Smash Hits was our music Bible. Wow, we knew so much music. We were so great in Fiji. We had so much, we had access to so much of everything. And Fiji Times used to have the best comic strips. And so we were all really aware of things. It was great. We had all the good movies. Anyway. So, yeah. So late 80s is when I was on radio. 89. 88 I was in Australia. 89 I went back in 89, and then I was on radio. And in modeling, it was such a great time. It was crazy. I started singing at Traps. I think I started singing in Traps in 1990 because I used to sing in school and I was always performing in school. I see people always say, oh yeah, in school, she was so out there. I'm always so flamboyant. She was just, attention seeking. That's how people remember me. Well, actually, it was attention deflecting. I was trying to deflect attention off the truth of what was happening with me. I was being broken physically at home. My mother had been broken my entire life. She had been beaten to pulp, but expected to be the glamorous. My father was a demon. He was vicious, a product of such terrible abuse himself. I cannot even imagine what he must have gone through to make the monster he was, that he would do this to a woman who loved him and his daughter, who adored him. He broke our bones. He shattered my spine when I was 12. I wouldn't have said this. I don't think I would have said this on stage. This is a bit too personal. It's just between us. And then I was raped at 13 and again at almost 14. And a whole heap of other shit happened. But I talk enough about this elsewhere. And look, I'm really done with the whole misery and depression and PTSD, which never goes away, by the way. You just have to learn how to breathe through it. But I'm done with the suicide ideation. I want to live, and I'm enjoying living, but everything still hurts. But I'm really grateful that living is not a hardship for me because I have always been able to feel, because I refuse to be thick-skinned. So I wouldn't have said all of this. I would have, said, well, straight away, I would have gone straight into why I can talk forever. Because I started on radio with the greats. I started with Semi Karoy, DJ Green.
See, I remember these names.
Yamnia Singonovo.
Wow.
Sami Mudalia. Salote Krovo. Oh my gosh, please forgive me. Mother Torah. The mother was like, Mother was there for her. She had her audience. And she was good at what she did. But she kind of, unfortunately, hated me later on in life because I took over the slot that she was always, it was hers. And I understand. But women grow up and so her age group had shifted, so they need to go. Anyway, times move. You need to progress. So, but I'm still talking about the late 80s. So all of these greats I learned from. And I was with, and I would rock in. I'd go into their studios and I'd sit with them and they'd just put me on the air and I'd be like, ah! And it was great. It was so good. We learned the hard ways back then. We had the hard yards. We had the carts. We had the turntables that we had to cue. No one can cue like an old school radio DJ from Fiji. A lot of the DJs on radio were also DJs in nightclubs. I too was a DJ. I could really cue things, and we had carts that produced things. We had to go and wipe it on the magnet. Oh, you're getting turned on. My husband gets very turned on when I talk about all these technical things. And look, I better not get too excited also, by the way, he's looking at me, but also because I'm shaking and this beautiful necklace is now rattling, and I'm sorry about that too, but look at it. We'll talk more about this later. Let's go back to me. and so this is, I guess, the stuff I would have talked about. Radio was amazing. Oh, Sharon Rolls, who I learned a lot from, but, I have a natural talent. But she was great, and she played obscure music, and everybody was very ahead of the time.
So you said Mother Torah. Is it, because I remember DJ Torah.
That's a different guy.
Right.
Person.
We call him Yo. Because, you say hello.
Hello.
And he goes, Yo.
Yes, absolutely. So but that was his call sign.
Yeah, right. So
Sure.
DJ Torah, were they related or just?
No, not related, just by chance.
All right, cool.
But I remember his voice. I can hear his voice right now,
Yeah.
DJ Torah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh, yeah. That's good.
Because I met him.
That's good.
When I went back to Fiji. So I started working at Traps, blah, blah, blah. So everyone
Right, sure.
from the Traps. But yeah, cool.
Also, in terms of Peter Broadbridge and his father Arthur, I think, who was always, this is the 7:00 news. Dun, 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 whatever the BBC news thing was, also FBC's news thing. It was all very serious. But Peter Broadbridge, who after a while really started hating me, he was a privileged person, half white, and assumed that, I don't know, everyone should fall at his feet. It's like, well, I'm not. And I'm better than you. Anyway. It was really weird. Anyway, it was weird. It was very competitive, but it was great. Like, bring it on. Yeah. Never forget that I'm a woman. Let's bring it on. Presenter to presenter. And then I had to do OBs. Outside broadcasts. My first big one that I was selected for was Hibiscus Festival 1989.
Damn.
And this is already a big year for me because this was the first.
How old are you?
I was 18.
18.
And it was the first big year for me for everything because I was also making my debut on runway, on what we called catwalk back then, for the Hibiscus Fashion Parade 1989, which was the fashion parade of the times. It was the most prestigious platform. And I was seen strutting my stuff down the street and asked by the prominent designer of the time, Tanya Whiteside, and the prominent fashion person of the time, Anna Sweetman, who, really, really made fashion what it is today. The industry, the modeling industry, well, it's sort of been lessened since her times. But anyway, so, yeah, and that was a big, big deal. And that was my first bout of racism.
Yep.
In Fiji, because my first, so I might as well tell that. I won't tell, wouldn't, I'm just now saying this is what I would have said in my speech. But perhaps I wouldn't have said racism. I would have just said, look, it was the first time I was embraced by society. And because I was part of that society, because my house was just on Zuckerberg Road, mate. Like, that's where I grew up, opposite the British High Commissioner's residence. So don't talk to me about status. I've traveled the world already, and I'm only 18. I'm Indo-Fijian, and I speak Hindi, and I eat bananas and stuff like that. So anyway, so my Indianness was held against me, even though to the people, as I said, of merit, my fabulosity was what was leading, not my Indianness. And maybe they did want the token Indian model for the times, because in each era there has been a token Indian model. So they wanted a new one for this new era that we're going to, late 80s now. 89, 90s. The times have changed. There's a new type of woman they want. They want someone, modern and like not afraid, but also embracing their Indianness, not trying to be anything but, I was Sandhya Nanda. I wasn't Sandhya Nanda. That's not how I was Nand. That's not how I was, I was who I am, me, a product of Fiji, and I loved it. And I guess that's what happened. So that's maybe I was chosen as a token Indian, Indo at the start. Well, they found out straight away that, okay, no, just forget the Indian stuff. She's the whole package. And, stars recognize stars, and they go, well, that's going to benefit us, so let's make her a star. So I became a face for Tiki Talks. And that's how I would have related this shirt. I became a face for Tiki Talks and Tanya Whiteside. I became a face for Tanya Whiteside. So it was great. I have wonderful, wonderful memories of all of this. But let me tell you about the first fashion parade, right? Because this was on the Friday, and this is the prestigious thing. So the crowning is on the Saturday. Hibiscus Week is happening at Albert Park. It's good for me. It's like I just live there, and I work at FBC. Oh, look, it's really great. But by this time, I was an adult. I was 18, so I was living still at the park there, around there. This is when we could all afford rents, right, in Suva, when everybody could afford to live in Suva, young people could afford to just bunk in together and live together. It was great. We had music, and the music we listened to back then was something else. In traps was jazz and R&B and hip hop, old school stuff. Yeah. Anyway, let me go back to 89. I'm talking now about so the fashion parade. So that was on the Friday, and the week festivities at, so Friday, Saturday, and Saturday night was just incredible because, it's all coming to a culmination. So it was, the Friday night was the big society thing of the fashion parade. It was the most prestigious, like the society, like cool place. It was sexy, so that's where I made my debut on the runway. And it was amazing. I still have photos I can show you. And I was like with all these big name models at the time, and it was just so good. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was put in my finale gown, thing that we wore different sarongs tied different ways. I mean, everybody, and mine was wrapped around me in one shoulder toga, and Anna put this red lame material as a turban, and I'm just dressed to stand out. I'm like, well, that's great. But fabulous, bring it on. Of course, I can do this. But all throughout this fashion parade, I had people hurling racial abuse at me. All of, the Suva society I was sitting in. And it wasn't all. It was one in particular. And they were all sniggering and laughing. But oh yeah, your guys were not laughing. They were just like pretending. They were like, damn, where's she been? Okay, trust me. So, but anyway, and this person now did a big suck up to me last year, but always, I'm sorry, it always just comes down to basic insecurities, right? So these people are now saying that I am Pamela Boards. Oh, look, Pamela Boards. Now, Pamela Boards, and I have talked about this before, but like this is where I think I'm just going to fill in the speeches because I would have talked about the fashion parade. Right now, I would have just be up on stage talking about the fashion parade. I would have skipped all of this. This is behind the scenes stuff, all the juicy stuff that you get. So I, all throughout it, I'm being yelled at, Pamela Boards. Oh, look at Pamela Boards. Hey, Pamela Boards, whatever, stuff like that. So Pamela Boards was this Anglo-Indian, she called herself at the time, young woman who was in England who had an affair with a British minister. And this was an echo of the 60s Profumo scandal, which was between a minister by the name of Profumo and a high society socialite girlfriend, Christine Keeler, and who is most famous for, everyone knows this, all the hot things want to be photographed like this, but they don't actually know the history of this. So Christine Keeler, and the most famous photograph of her is her sitting naked astride a chair doing this, and, with a beehive, and it's quite a striking photo, and that was her, well, she's been immortalized now, and now you know. If you didn't already, of course, but we did back then in Fiji. And so then Pamela Boards was the Christine Keeler of her time. She, now we know, is fully Indian. She was from India. She went to England, and she was actually an escort. So that's what they were saying. They were saying I was a prostitute. And so they're calling me that, and just being quite nasty, commenting about how ugly I am and things like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, because you're the one up here with me. Right, okay. Anyway, so that was that. So now, going back to what I would have been saying about the fashion parade. So Friday night was this, sexy fashion parade thing happening, glamorous, darling. Super society, darling. We're also glam here. Blah, blah, blah. Kudos, great. The models are just like, everyone's fawning over us. And I just know that I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I don't actually remember what happened that night. Much to my horror, I may have had a drink or 10. But I don't know what. No. God, I'm a model.
Right. I'm so sorry.
Excuse me. Did we have to even buy our drinks? I don't think so. Excuse me. Life is a bit different when you have looks privilege and you're a model. Anyway. So I don't remember what happened, but it was a party and blah, 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 and traps and blah, blah, blah. It was all just great, okay? It was fun. So good. I don't remember. But that was it. And then the next day was the Hibiscus Float Parade. Oh, my God. Saturday morning was so exciting. The float parades used to be something. I don't know if I would have gone, oh, my God, but perhaps I would have. I would have just said, like, it was, oh, my God. I'm just saying what I would have been saying if I had been talking on stage for 1 hour with a mic, if I had been given that chance, to just share a little bit of history. It was such a fun time. Look, I don't actually remember the day after the first fashion parade, but I do know that night was outside broadcast time, and I was on the OB team, outside broadcast team for the crowning, because I could talk. And when you've got a crowning, right? So it's night, and I'm wearing, so we're all just dressed glamorously. I have a photograph. Maybe, darling, when you do put this up on YouTube.
I'm already thinking about it.
I thought you would have been.
And this is great too, because we're discussing it.
Okay, great.
I'm already thinking about it.
Yeah, great. So I'd love you to, for the YouTube video, just put some photographs here.
Sure.
Great. And there's a photograph of all of us standing there. Now, it's taken by the Keynes Geneva photographers of the time. I know that many of you remember who I'm talking about. Shorter guy with glasses, with his flak jacket, photographer jacket on, going around with it, and it's just so good and didn't miss a thing. All these Keynes Geneva photographers and Fiji Times photographers at the time didn't miss a thing. It's very sad. I've been through the Fiji Times archives. All the photographs of mine have gone. You just said something interesting. Maybe stolen? Because somebody's got an archive of photographs of me. But there were so many photographs of society taken by the Keynes Geneva photographers and the Fiji Times photographers, and I don't know where they all are. It's so sad. But anyway, coming back to that. So I've got this great photograph of us standing in a row, looking so well dressed. I'm wearing an orange silk, it's material I had bought in Martin Fabrics. That name should be familiar to many of you. Wow, it's the best material shop in the whole world. I tell you now, I can say that. I've traveled extensively. The material in that shop was amazing. It was on Victoria Parade, right next to where Traps is, and it was huge. You know how like some Bunnings are now?
Yeah, right.
Like Martin Fabrics was huge. And it was just material. So I bought this purple silk and orange silk, satin really, not silk. And I still have the orange silk, and I think I gave away what eventually became, I had made the purple silk into a two-piece, and I've got photographs of that somewhere, I think. I hope. Yes, so I wore this orange silk wrapped around me, and Martha Tora was standing next to me wearing this, gorgeous red sort of like spaghetti strap dress of the times, 80s, the times form fitting, and then flounces out a little mermaid thing, but like sexy, and and then next to was YG, oh no, it's Sammy Mudaliar. He's looking, always like a rabbit in deer headlights when he looks at the camera, but he's just really good. And YG, Yamnya Sinonubo, he with the golden voice, could in any language. And you ask him and Semi Koroi, you ask them to do one line in 3 languages, he'll do it straight away, bang, so good. And then, please forgive me that I'm getting this name wrong, but I do know the first name is Salote. And she is resplendent and beautiful in an, vintage orange and yellow kaftan. Oh my God. Sorry, excuse me, give me a moment. I'm just thinking about all the clothes right now. Suva used to have the best clothing shops. Anyway.
Good times.
Yeah. And so it's 1989 and it's the Hibiscus Festival crowning ceremony, and we've all got to talk. We've got to, fill in what's happening, because there are people on the radio, like everyone, listening to who was going to be crowned Miss Hibiscus was a big deal. Back in those days, that's what united us. Everyone's like glued to the radio, not TV then. We're like, radio, all right? And so we've got to describe what we're wearing, what's happening. We've got to describe what's happening. We have got to tell the story about what's happening, and this is why I can talk. Because we have got to create a picture for the person listening at home who is glued to the radio, eyes up to the sky and ears to the radio. And everyone's like, okay, the crowning, right? Oh my God, this is and the pressure to talk and try not to repeat yourself. The first times are just disastrous because you're saying the same thing, right, so the pressure is on, and you're saying all these things, right? And then what? And then the opening of the envelope, it's like, and then you've got to keep talking because they don't know. We can all see what's happening. They're trying to open the envelope, right? So, but you've got to tell the listener at home what's happening. So you've got to actually describe everything, and that people are, oops, I'm sorry, there's some fumbling with the envelope, and look, the envelope, maybe everyone's feeling a bit sweaty. It's a lovely balmy night in Suva this August. And look, Miss, everyone's, all the queens left. We've got the Miss Runners Up. We've got Miss Charity, we've had a remarkable float parade. Hey, do you remember what that float was so good? Do you remember what they were wearing? Woo! We got to remember every single detail of every single float, what the queens were wearing, who is who, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. What did Miss Charity raise? Da, 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 da. And you got to tell the listener at home, fill it all in, because these people are taking their time with the envelope. It's like, look, I think they're having some difficulty with the glue, because please could you open this envelope? I really need to take a breath. So that's why I can talk. So that's what I would have explained in short form, because I know I only have an hour. So I would have spent about, 15 minutes talking about that, and a little bit more about my experiences on radio. And also by this time now I was a singer and a fairly well-known model, that every time I model, I was used on the front cover of newspapers and the Sheraton weekly fashion parades. If I modeled there, that would be like a draw card, which I found I thought that was really lovely. And the MC said, and now top model of Suva, Sandhya. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. And it's lovely. It made us, I guess it was all very special those times. And then I hadn't hit the big time yet. So I would be talking about then the modeling industry and how it was all intertwined. And then I started singing at traps, and I had the audacity and the confidence, I guess, or the the confidence in myself to go and ask Gary Apted of Traps if I could sing because Wednesdays were jazz nights, and back then, Traps was all about the jazz and all about the smooth and all about the cool. I mean, like, oh my God, Traps is the coolest. Not now, but we know that 80s, and when I've been going to Traps since it opened. And let me tell you, it's not as bad as it sounds. Traps actually used to be a Mexican restaurant. And so I've been going to have enchiladas there since it opened. You can still see it says there on the, who is the
Slowpoke Rodriguez.
and the reason why Dwayne does actually know that is because he was a bartender at Traps, and we all know that only the coolest were hired to be a bartender at Traps. Anyway, it was a cool thing because
You pointed that out.
Yes,
it
because
definitely is a type of person.
Yes.
Well,
Gary knew what he was doing. Because Christmas time, the invitation of Christmas and New Year, the invitation of the year was if the Traps bartenders invited you to the Traps the pre-opening part, like closed door party. And if you got that invitation, you wanker you. Yes. You were like, well, of course. I'm going.
Did you ever get?
Oh. What are you wearing? And you just, so my sister in crime at that time, and I would look at each other and go, what are you wearing? Because of course we were there. Oh, wow. Anyway, it's nice to be an it girl. I understand why people hate you for it. It's fun. But we don't hate anyone. I didn't. I certainly didn't. So it was lovely to be in those times and then singing. So I then asked Gary, and he said, sure, ask them. He was smoking in the side. So this was 1990, and from the cottage, when the cottage was like, oh my gosh, the cottage was, from the cottage you could see through to the Shell service station, and
I've heard so much good things about the food there, but I've never eaten.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you, because the food at the cottage was next level, and the vibe, man, It was the cool place. It was the vibe. The food was great. Food was so good. Anyway, so and then where there's Traps.
Yeah.
The side door, right, where as being a bartender, you could take the kegs out and all that stuff, right? And that's where you enter from. And, or when you were lucky enough to be locked in there after hours because it's curfew, that's where you exit from in the morning. Gosh, there's all these things. So, and then Gary just said, well, go ahead, ask, and go ahead, ask them was, go ahead and ask Twitter Avai. And the freelancers. I'm like, okay, cool. Go ask. You don't know this time of music. I'm so sorry for you. Manoa Twisty was the singer, and whoa. And I hope you have heard of Al Jarreau. Manoa Twisty was better. But unfortunately, I don't know, not perhaps as focused. I don't know. Anyway, so I asked if I could sing, and of course, I didn't take into account that they all looked at me like, the hell's this hottie? It's now the musicians tell me. Now when we're all older, they're like, we always just went, oh my God. Now you've heard it, right? They've said it.
Yeah, jam sessions and Dragon and the gang.
But then they've said it like, that they were all very aware of how I was a model. And I used to be very really sexy stuff.
Yeah, I used to walk in and like boys. Like that. That's what they're saying.
And no way did they ever make me feel like I felt so protected by every single musician, and I have jammed with so many of the OG, old school, still going, the eternal, the perpetual, the, immortal musicians of Fiji. I have so much history of them and those days. And so, yes, so I would have perhaps said a little bit of my story would have been the first time I sang at Traps. The first song I sang in Traps was packed. I'm like, I don't know why. I mean, sure, because Twitter are buying the freelancers, not me. But it just seemed a little bit more packed than usual, and I'm freaking out. And look, what happened? I don't know. I was going to say this from memoir, but who cares? This is free history. Here we go. Let's go. So I'm standing by the side, and I'm freaking out, right? So there's this you remember the old layout of Traps, right? So I'm standing next to the wall. So let's just say this is the wall, and there's traps, back bars there, the stage is here in the olden days, right? And the front bar, the steps in the front bars there, the cool steps, right? And I'm just saying, and then this woman just starts, like, this, you know, crazy woman just starts having like saying she's going to slash my throat with her brain, or she's going to smash the beer bottle and slash my throat and all sorts of things. Who do you think you are? Because I was wearing, I don't know, it's like, and standing next to her are feminists, women who are supposed to be, and there, some of them were my seniors at school. And I'm like, shouldn't you be doing the feminist thing then? You know, standing up for a young woman who is doing her thing, and this woman wants to slash my throat because she's calling me all sorts of horrible names and, you know, Indian C word, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, God, leave me alone. And here I'm thinking, please don't slash my fucking throat right now. I'm about to sing. I'm nervous as hell. Anyway, it's not going to hurt, you know, it's not going to help me. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, great. Okay. So then that actually just sort of takes some nerves away, because here I am. Okay. Don't kill me. Please. and then all of a sudden, and then the tweet catches my eye and he goes, you know, come. And I'm like, and I don't know how I walked onto stage, but all of a sudden I'm like, I can't do this. Okay. I've got to do it. I'm just going to turn my back to the audience. I turned my back to the audience because I saw the audience and there was just, where did all these people come from? It was empty before when she was trying to kill me. There was no one here, clearly. And now now I'm on stage, now everyone's here. What the hell? I was wearing my uniform at the time, was a skimpy white off-the-shoulder top that in the daytime I would just let be a crop top. God, we used to be bloody naked. You know, off-the-shoulder white top that came up to here. And at night I would just tie it, so it became a little bra top. And then a really, like, look, it's not a skirt, it was a Band-Aid or a belt, you know, it was just a thick belt that I used to, it was a skirt, okay? It was a little black skirt, and I wore it with chunky socks and chunky black boots. And that was what I sang, my first gig. Someone somewhere has a photograph of me, because back in those days we didn't have all this. So anyway, I sang Fever, which was Peggy Lee, and I loved Peggy Lee. I was really big into jazz, and Fever was the song, and of course they loved it because somebody wants to be all sexy and she's dressed like that. I'm like, okay, let's go. So that was it, and I had a lot of great times, a lot of great memories. But again, like, I might keep that for some other times. I wouldn't go into in-depth because I only had an hour if I was given a chance to share some stories. So, of course, radio was exciting and fashion parades are exciting at the time. You know, I have done some really exciting things. There were some really, would you believe I have been topless? Of course you would, because some idiot has spread rumors that I went topless. Well, I was asked to by a very esteemed person of Suva society, who is also one of the big names of fashion, still is, but is also known for their radio presence and media presence and political presence. I was asked to specifically be topless to represent a modern Fiji after a virgin Kaiviti young woman went out with full and then the plat to show ancient traditional Fiji, old Fiji, and how we evolve and still keep the traditions. And this was for a Pacific Island Leaders Trade Forum type thing. It was a big thing. And it was at the Isolé Hotel, back, you know, just on the way to Lamy. Which is kind of terrible because sometimes Isolé tells Isolé, that smell coming from Lamy rubbish dump was just too much. It wasn't as bad before because we didn't have that much bad rubbish, but oof, that smell got worse. I gotta tell you, welcome to Suva. Really? The signs to welcome to Suva with the cemetery and the Lamy rubbish dump smell is just too much. I'm glad it's not there, but what is going on with that land? Anyway, we lived in Suva for 3 months last year. It was amazing. I loved it. We were so productive. It was so great to live in Suva together. And then also understand what people in Suva and Fiji have to go through, the things they have to endure, and they just become immune to it. They become jaded. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, how can you live with this? Why aren't you saying something? And everyone says, oh, what can we do? No, nothing changes. Well, things do change. But I digress.
It's hard.
Yes, it is hard. Very hard. But people with privilege It's their duty. It's not the people's privilege. It's not the people's duty to change
that's
things.
Right. Yeah, and what are the people privileged on?
Well, they're hoarding money.
Well, we all know what's happening, so that's why.
People of privilege are the ones who are duty bound to change things. Not the people on the street. They should not. Not just people on the street. People, the citizen, everyday citizen, just earning money, enjoying life. That's all they need to be doing. Okay, that's all they need to be doing. The powers that be are the ones who need to be responsible and accountable. But anyway, that's not how people see it. So I perhaps would not have said this on. I'm not sure. I would just being a bit more diplomatic on stage. So I would not have said this. Remember, I do have an hour. So now I've gone into. So I'm going to talk, and I've gone into the half an hour thing where I'm talking about modeling and music, etc. Around this time, around 1992. I was splitting back and forth between Melbourne and Fiji around this time. So in 1992, I was asked to just come in for an audition because they were experimenting with this idea of television in Fiji. And I was like, okay, my name was put forth, and I said, okay, I'll be there for that. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And they I don't know none of these things exist. How sad. I guess people don't view this as history, but it's the start of television in Fiji. And I think the Fiji National Video Center archives don't exist. And how sad. This is history gone. My audition. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to you now, but maybe someday it will be. When did TV start? Do we have any history? Or are they going to wipe all that out and say that history started when the white people from New Zealand came and started Fiji One? And they didn't want me there. They didn't want this Indo-Fijian woman reading the news. So is that where they're going to start the history of television from? Not from back when I read it, and also Walter Thomas. And there's some other people who are not remembered, but they kicked me off because I was getting too much attention. So I had a few solid years as reading the news. It was great. I loved it. It did some amazing things. And I couldn't believe. So when they said, okay, great. I did not expect. I just thought, oh, great. This is another type of medium. I loved being on radio. I was on radio. So now this is another thing to do. I didn't go into it thinking, oh, good, I'm going to be famous. You don't expect that, I don't think. Well, back then you didn't. Just being given a task and I already knew that job because I was on radio. And I took that job very seriously on radio, of reading the news, of sharing information. So for me, this was just another medium of doing that. And I was there. Well, by May 1992, I started, so I didn't actually, so I think I've got my dates wrong. I think I auditioned in February. And I think I started in March. See, I don't even know. I discounted my history there then. I don't actually know when I started. My apologies, but I do know it's sometime in between February and April 1992, because by May 1992 I exploded. I perhaps wouldn't have said this out there because other people the haters that don't want to hear that, but this is the truth. It's fact. I was on the front page of the newspaper in a bikini because I had just done the ASCO Motors, the looked forward to exciting event, ASCO Motors Car and Marine Show, Auto and Marine Show, held at the Civic Center. And it was the top models, organized by Anna Sweetman, and ASCO Motors people at that time were really progressive and people understood branding, etc. And it was a local swimsuit designer, swimwear ahead of its time. This is 1992. And this is my first, this fashion parade, because people now had started seeing me on television. And they were seeing, hey, that's that girl that's in the papers, the model. Yeah. The model. So people were starting to put two and two together. And then they started watching the news because, I'm really serious. And then they're like, hey, that's her voice on radio and on the ads, eh? So that's all of a sudden, everyone started piecing things together. That's her voice on radio. That's the girl in the model. So they started putting voice to image, and
that's the same voice I have in Traps. No.
Now, singing, maybe.
That's right.
Absolutely, sure.
Sorry, Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh,
Singing,
right,
yeah.
right,
Not-
sure. Yes. By the time I started reading the news, I was very aware of my responsibility.
Sure, yeah.
So I was not seen drunk anywhere. In
That's right.
countries
I
and
meant
countries.
singing.
Right.
That's right, yeah.
So, yeah. So by May 19th, so that fashion parade, right? It was packed. And every time I came out, people would just start, Kayla, laughing and whoa, and laughing. And I'm like, why are they laughing? Because I hadn't actually privileged not elitist, but silver society was a bit different then. And it was not elitist so much as just sort of, silver society. And so our fashion parades were still for silver society and Nandi society. They weren't really for the public. And we had a lot of public fashion parades in the 90s. It was great. So all the top models, but it wasn't elitist. So free to the public, and they could see all the top models, all the exclusive. They got to see the celebrities, Cool. It's great. So this was one of the big ones, one of the first big ones. I mean, if you bought a ticket to the Hibiscus Fashion Parade, you could go and see it. It was still a ticketed event, a society event, And yeah, so this was free. So you had people who would come in on their best behavior, dressed well, to come and see what was going on with the top models, because and every time I'd come out, they would just go nuts, and I'd just continue modeling. And there's a great photograph of this that demonstrates this, and in my mind, I'm like thinking they're all like booing me. But in this photo, which is taken from, and I don't know who took it, in this photo is taken from the back, so you can see the crowd behind me, but in front of me, really, because I'm modeling and I'm wearing a crown of flowers and a pink bikini and a sarong. And I think they're booing me. They're all smiling at me or looking at me. And then I remember going backstage after just modeling, blah, 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 being myself, and asking, others, why are they laughing at me? Why are they doing this? This is around May, April 1992, May 1992. Why are they laughing at me? And they said, because they like you. They like you, man. They've seen you on TV. They like you. Come on, go out. They like you. They know who you are. Go. Oh, okay. And I kind of, like, what? Oh my God. So it was the finale by then. And this time we were dressed in like wetsuits, black one-piece wetsuits, and like colorful life jackets, and we went out with kids, and I went out with the daughter of Anna Sweetman's daughter, Belinda, and who Belinda is a grown woman now, 40, and we're friends still. It was great, and that's by this time I realized, oh, okay, what's happening? So okay, but prior to that, I had no idea. Anyway, so there you go, and soon after, something happened. Soon after, or before, look, I don't know. Soon after, I got into a permanent relationship with a person who worked at the Sheraton Fiji, and so we had a ceremony that wasn't legal. It was legal, but there's so many mistakes in it. And look, I don't know. Okay, so I guess it was.
The document wouldn't stand up.
I don't think so. It's a wedding certificate. So this is obviously my first marriage, and only. So it was. But anyway, that hit the papers, because the people of the venue we got married at, they recognized me. And my witness, one was a friend who I just met the day before. I said, hey, could you come rock up and be the witness too, And the other was the gardener of this venue, the gardener of the Sleeping Giant. Was a gardener. I said, could you please? So yeah. And then somehow the newspapers got wind of that, and I was on the front page of the newspaper with Ratumara and Rambuka. That's what the headline is. Ratumara tells Rambuka is Ratumara's photo, and me in a bikini, wearing a black and white hat, a black bikini, wearing black heels, mid strut. It's not a very flattering photo. Well, it is good angles. It's okay. But I look at myself and think, how the hell was I considered beautiful? But anyway, and it says there, see the blah, 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 that underneath the sari, Ms. Nand or Sandhya Nand. the famous, I don't know, body underneath the sari, famous TV newsreader just got married to blah, blah, blah. My whole history on this thing. I'm like, oh my God, my name, what I do. It was so wonderful. You couldn't ask for a better publicist than Fiji Times and all the newspapers for me back then. And bang. But by that stage, I had already known something was going on because I have to go back, and this is now just a behind the scenes thing, okay? Because you had to, in order to get married, you did have to go get a marriage certificate. So I think it was 2 weeks prior to the time. So this was in Lautoka. And I went to the Lautoka with the guy I was marrying to get the certificate, the license. And as we were walking there, I'm sort of slowing down like, wait a moment, I've only known this guy like 2 weeks. We were just a bit caught up in each other's hype. The guy I married was really doing good things at the hotel as, at that stage, conventions manager and food and beverage and all that. Really doing great things. And that's how we met, because I was by this time singing with the Hearts, the band started by Ken Jansen. So I've jumped a bit, but I am talking now about 1992. What happened in 1992. So I started reading the news. I was already singing, and I was known as a model. And Ken Jansen approached me and said, "Would you think you want to? I'm reforming a band. Do you want to join?" And he knows what's that. He's a businessman, okay? Dragon music, he knows, okay? Businessman, you know what I'm talking about. Fiji people know what I'm talking about. He's a legitimate businessman, but, because my husband is also quarter Chinese, I feel... Quarter businessman. I feel we can be honest about that. They know business, all right? Economics. And he knew the value of people knew the value of branding. And that I had stage presence. So he asked me to sing, and he paid me well. And I only had to sing a few songs that they would give up. They would sacrifice rooms. We would be given 2 rooms. They would give me one for me, and all bunk in one room together. And it was so lovely. It was so lovely. And anyway, yeah, and that's how we met, because I was at the height of whatever, and people were saying to him, the staff was saying to him, that's the newsreader. That's the newsreader. That's the model. She's famous. We've seen her when she used to model before newsreading. So everyone at the Sheraton already knows who I am. And, I'm being told he's really good at what he's doing. So we all caught up in each other's hype a little. So then blah, 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 stuff happens. All right, I don't need to get into details here, but you know what happened. Anyway, so we decided we're going to get married. What the hell's wrong with us idiots? And we're in Lautoka, and all of a sudden I'm getting like cold feet. Like, what am I doing? I don't want to get married. I'm 21. This is stupid. And then I start thinking about before I went to boarding school, Mom took me to a pundit, to get my palm read, right? And somewhere in there, they read some things like I was going to get married at 21, and that later on in life, I was going to have 5 children. And to that, both I went, I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And laughed. But there you go. All of a sudden my brain flashed to, oh my God, what? But I was like, I am not doing this. I refuse to believe that some old man is going to read my palm and tell me this is my... I don't think so. Sorry, oh my God, thunder. Except that somebody poked their head out of the window and said, Sandhyanand! And I froze. And I was like, oh my God, I can't back out now. And then all of a sudden, and this is what it is like to me in my memory, heads start popping out of windows and people start like coming closer to me. And like everyone's like, oh my God, hey, that's the newsreader. Due to technical difficulties, and we were unable to bring you the news yesterday, but for you, Western Division, we have a special news hour. Because we recorded it and got presented on the flight. Nandi Strait, video gone. That's how the news was delivered. Technical difficulties, we couldn't make the flight, the last flight to Nandi. So everyone felt very special in the Western Division, like I was talking to them personally. And I couldn't back out. So there you go. That's why I ended up And it was fun. I'm not at all regretting it because, I thought, okay, what the hell? I can always get divorced, is what I thought. And we had a great time. It was totally the wrong relationship to be in. There's a lot of problems in all of that relationship. It was shit. A lot of it was shit, and a lot of it was extremely great. Great times, great fun. We had fun. And I had a lot of great opportunities during that time. So again, I'll expand on that on expanded videos when I talk about my life. But we are now talking about 1992, and my fame not my fame. I became extremely famous. There was nowhere I could go in Fiji without being recognized. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I've never taken that lightly. It was very, very wonderful. And I was able to do amazing things with it, like the fashion platforms I created in conjunction with the Project 91 charity. And Susan Jarzowkowska, who is also well known for being the co-founder of Captain Cook Cruises. Well, she was the charity founder of Project 91 to raise money. And I was brought onto the committee via the person I married, because of where it was going to be held at Sheraton, and Suzanne and her husband, Andrew they divorced, lived on the property as well. And I, at this stage, by 1994, I lived at the Sheraton. I lived in an apartment on the Sheraton, in the best block ever. Anyway, the party block, that's where we had all the parties. Look, life, I did lead a very privileged life, okay? But I did great things with it. I hope that you understand that.
Well, the Sheraton had a very good life while you were there. Well,
they did. And the Sheraton, Fiji, back then was all about the locals. All about giving local rates and opening up so my partner, David, opened up Planters in the ballroom. Oh, great. And he introduced Toss the Barman, Flip the Barman, we called it then. So, ding, ding, ding. And the bartenders, cool bartenders at Planters, man. We had the best times. 90s, you do not know. I was so ready to tell you about the 90s on stage, I was so ready to tell people about how good it was, to remind people, look, we were ahead. We were progressive. We were cool, hot. We were all so hot. A lot of drama. But we were doing so much. I was doing so much. But a lot of people, we were all doing fashion parades here, dancing here. I had a dance troupe with Neil Foon. So going back to this so by 1994, I was firmly, in my element. I was living the glamorous life that people expected their celebrities to. And it was great for the Sheraton because I was always in the newspapers. Fiji Times, Fiji Sun, Daily Post, Hindustan always had me in their papers, on their front covers. And it was great because every single guest at the Sheraton then got the newspapers. And they would be reading the newspapers at breakfast on the front cover to see this hot celebrity of Fiji, and then because they would always say newsreader, singer, and model. I mean, I told you, who needs publicists with the newspapers on your side? Wow. I sold their newspapers. It was a two-way thing. Now, of course, Fiji Times hates me. Fiji Sun is really lovely, and they've been very, really lovely. Even back then when they were hated, when they were the government's newspaper. Now they're seen as the people's newspaper. Either way, I'm with the Fiji Sun, and I have supported Fiji Times with the people at Fiji Times. They hate me. They've been told by prominent people in Fiji, put Sun hair on your cover, you'll sell out. And they didn't listen. Your loss, mate. Anyway, Fiji Sun, I have a lot of time for you, and one of my favorite journalists is Frederica Elborn. My other favorite journalist is Felix Chaudhary, who knows everything there is to know about the music industry and business and history of that time and of today's time. Felix writes for Fiji Times and is perhaps one of the few good things. Another journalist I will really shout out is John Khmer. Wrote beautiful articles about me. Thank you very much. But anyway, so this is going back to early 90s. And it was just a really, really good time. Everyone supported each other. The fashion, music, media were all working together. Even if they didn't want me on the news, there were still programs I hosted. I hosted music programs where Tom Maui and I co-hosted a program, with the musicians playing jam sessions, Yes, a USB. So I can show you a receipt of payment I got. I'll show you a receipt. Okay, awesome. So right now I hope you're seeing the receipt. And I know my genius husband is going to do all sorts of clever things here. So I do have that receipt still. And yeah, we used to have some really amazing things. And of course, I was on all the ads. I was on Magnum and Magnum Ad. Quite a few things, and my voice was all over radio and in all sorts of ads and stuff like that. So yes, but 1994, I was asked to join the committee of Project 91 for something to do with a big fundraiser. Can we do something with fashion? What should we do? And bring her on, bring David's wife, they call me, but she's the celebrity. And so I was telling the story about Woodford Sheraton. Let me just go back to that. So they'd be sitting in the veranda for breakfast. If you remember those times, veranda, it was like the locals would love to come and they'd time it. So if you go, because let me just tell you about Sheraton those times and the local rates. I think you could come and stay at the Sheraton for like 250 Fijian for the weekend or something, because they know you'd spend big in the restaurants and the bar. They'd make everything for the locals.
Was that expensive at that time?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Well, maybe it was 4. I don't know. I lived at the Sheraton. What do I know? So I've never had to actually pay. But everyone did, and locals, and not just high society, but people who can afford to were welcomed.
Yeah.
And as long as you were well dressed and well behaved. And you'd come and spend money in the bars. You'd come and spend money in the restaurants. Ocean Lanai, on the beach at Port Sakul, the fine dining restaurant, because there was nothing like fine dining in Fiji, man. Fine dining in the 80s in Fiji and in the 90s, next level. Next level. God, I had so many stories. 1994 I'm talking about, though. So this is the first time in fashion, because now I think I've run out of the hour, because I wouldn't have talked about all of this in the hour. I'm just telling you a little bit more of the behind the scenes, and this is what I'm going to go in depth with. So I was asked to come onto the committee of this to do something fashiony. And look, the Fashion Awards was not really necessarily my idea. It was Suzanne's. But she knew that she could just pass it over to me and I'd flesh it out and I'd get everything done for it. And I'd have to flesh out the logistics of how would we do this. So 1994, was great. So it was the Project 91 Weller Design Awards for Project 91 charity to raise funds for the Nandi Hospital, and I was what we call creative director, the show coordinator, and I put it all together, and it was an awards thing. It was great, and I'll explain and talk more about that another time as to why I decided to go the way we did it. I did it. And the committee was great. We worked really hard. So this is all the things, the forerunners of all this supposed charity events now for fashion, etc. I was the one who put that platform together. And I have physical proof of all of that. Absolute proof of all of that I was the one who first created these platforms to be utilized in conjunction with charity to highlight our creative industries and also raise funds and to give people something to look forward to that is high society but is accessible to everybody if you saved your money for long enough, kind of thing. It was accessible. It was great. And it was exciting. It was at the Sheraton. People came over for the weekend and they got local rates. It was party time because they knew what would be happening. It was so great. And it was so good for Sheraton. As I was saying, people would be reading the newspaper. So like for the locals, let me just talk about what's for the locals, right? And so people would know how to time it. The Veranda restaurant was where the buffet breakfast used to be. Do you remember the buffet breakfast? Oh my Lord. And of course, so it would go till 11 o'clock. So people didn't have to rock up till breakfast till 10 o'clock or, 10:30, but you could order enough to eat and then you're set for the rest of the day. You don't even have to spend, but your breakfast is part of your room rate. And then you basically eat a smorgasbord and you're full for the rest of the day. You've had brunch and that's what they used to do. It was great. And people allowed it. Sheraton allowed it. It was great because they just spent the entire fortune in a bar in Planters the night before. So that's why Sheraton would give free breakfast with your exorbitant room rate at that time, kind of thing. Because we know what you're going to spend in the bar and all the hot models are there. We know what you're spending in the bar, kind of thing. And so 1994, the first Weller Design Awards. That was just big. And then we established something. It established the modeling agency, the local modeling agency, because we took over now from Anna Sweetman. We basically got the batons, and we were now producing the shows. And that was,
How cool.
And I actually, I'm going to say this. Deny it all you want, but I have fact on my side. I elevated, I created, like how Versace is credited with creating the era of supermodels in the Euro world and in the pop culture world and the world as we know it. I could say that I also did that, made them national. Anna Sweetman elevated all of us and made us supermodels, so that the people may not know all the models, but they knew one or two of us, and I was one of them. Because we were always in the newspapers, and by that time I was a singer and I was on the television, so everyone knew who I was. I was in the DNA of Fiji, the literal sound waves, the vision, the optics. So, but I was the one who actually elevated the rest. Anna Sweetman was doing that in the early 90s. All of a sudden, her models were known as being the models. So Anna Sweetman started getting money, she got money for us, we were paid well, she had a hierarchy, so the ones who were the most famous. So yeah, and by the time we took it over in early 90s, so 93, 94, then we created this idea of a supermodel. So by that time, the models who were walking were just known by name. So it wasn't just me and the others. They were all models, but I was the superstar, but they were all supermodels. I was a superstar. Not saying that with arrogance. It was just because I was.
You are.
But because I was doing all these things, and that's what Fiji made me. It was beautiful. And it was great because, we were all it would just bring the crowds in. It was lovely. And Anna would always have me singing, opening the show by me singing. And the models would all walk to.
I've seen footage.
Yeah, and we'd be in swimsuits, and I'd be singing, or finales. There's photos galore. You're seeing them all now. I am certain of me singing, and then I'd be singing Vogue. And because the music and fashion industry was really like this, I'd so have Ken Jansen and the Hearts would be there. Would be singing later. So Ken would have my music ready, and so we'd sing Vogue. And the models would walk. So it's a finale walk, and we'd all have a set piece. It was so good. We'd be wearing the most incredible evening wear. And the guys, we used to have hot male models, man. That's what I'm saying. Back in our day, we would have all just gone, Dwayne, come and walk. Our male models back then was something. They're getting better now. But back then, our male models, man, were great. Anyway, so yeah, where was I? Oh my gosh. So yes, for one, we were singing, was a really elegant thing. So, and I was singing Vogue, but in Hindi, because there was this singer called Alicia who sang Made in India. And she sang a song also with Vogue called Prem Rog, like love struck, love sick or whatever, or caught up in love. Prem Rog. And it was set to Vogue. And I sang that in Hindi.
Awesome.
Yeah, so even so people would be dancing to it, even in conferences, and Ken would say, just sing it in Hindi. Wise would say, Hindi, because Wise Batuanga, if you don't know Wise Batuanga, you need to know Wise Batuanga, legend musician, guitarist. And he could speak Hindi, and they would just say, sing it. And but like, so for the fashion show, I sang it in Hindi, and everyone's like, the hell's going on? But it's cool. And anyway, so yeah, that was it. And 1995 was another huge year for me, because between 1994 and 1995, I was now singing in Hong Kong on and off. And that was another big thing. And then I also moved away. 1995, I was in and out of Fiji for Hong Kong, singing in Hong Kong, and then it was the second Weller Design Awards, and wow, this year I had refined it. We've got footage of it, we've got backstage footage of all the charts I hand wrote, I styled everything, I made sure, and the models, the top models, these were the supermodels. For 1995's Weller Design Awards, these were the supermodels. Some are missing, a few, one or two, or maybe not. Maybe this was the core group of models. And yeah, staying at the Sheraton and blah, blah, blah. And it was just all just wonderful. And everyone was excited because this year I had really refined it. And this year's show was not going to be as long as the year before and drawn out. This year's show was smack and really like just sharp. And, everyone was going to find out who the winners, because it was an awards show. And I'll explain why when I expand on this. Oh my gosh, but here I'm using this footage here now, I think that Dwayne may put on here about all the winners who are big names still. And this is the shows that I did that elevated these people, because also by this time we were having weekly shows at the then Trade Winds, which were organized by Image Visage Model Management. And this is the very agency that I had elevated on with the Weller Design Awards in 1994. Deny it all you want. It's fact. I have proof. People tell such lies in the retelling of their stories. You were all drunk. What do you know? I was the one that was doing all the work. Gladly. I'd gladly want you all to have fun. I was happy to do all the work. So, 1995's Weller Design Awards was something else. It was hot. It was so good. I got t-shirts printed out with all our names. I still have my t-shirt. I got those printed out at my expense. I didn't use any of the money that was given over to get the whole thing. But, you know, everyone got to keep their t-shirts. I think they've all thrown theirs away. I don't know. I still have mine. And, you know, and we did this, you know, introduction to the supermodels number set to Janet Jackson's Throb, because Fiji was not conservative. This song is all about sex. Okay. And, yeah, and it was just, it was amazing, and it was fast. It was great. And again, I'll expand on all of this, but what was so great about this whole time, it was just full on. I did not realize how well known I was, but it was full on. Yeah. Because I was in and out of Hong Kong and all sorts of things. Anyway, again, this is behind the scenes stuff. I'm not sure I would have touched on all of this, but, you know, Hong Kong put me in their newspapers. So anyway, because I was really bringing everybody to the lounge, as I had said earlier on, you know, I was employed, contracted to do that. I had an incredible contract. Everything was just signed up to my room. It was great. Well, I proved my worth. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, for my value, I should say. So 1995 was sharper, really great show. I'm using footage here from the then show called Kaleidoscope, hosted by Sharon Bhagwan Rolls, as she's known now, or she was known as Sharon Rolls back then. Really cool show. She really did a lot of effort into putting work, you know, finding out, interviewing all the designers. It was so good, well put together. And then, you know, you can see all the credits. It's my name for everything. But everybody, it looks so great. I hope that, you know, you're seeing all this in the expanded versions. We're just showing glimpses of it here. Well, yes, I have all that history. I have it. It meant something to me. I didn't create for me. When people create for their own selves, what they've created means nothing to them. But I created for everybody else. I created for the bigger picture. I created for Fiji's history. I created for the future so that we can look back and go, this is what we used to do. And it was amazing. And look at, you know, we were great then. Look how great we can be. So this is why I remember things that are important, because I knew one day I have to keep all this because it will be important to somebody someday. So that's why I have all this knowledge and history. And I don't know who it's going to be important to me, but maybe somebody would like to do a thesis on the history of Fiji, urban history. I don't know. And I have a lot of that information. But maybe it is I who is meant to do this, and I'm going to do this. And because I have the memories. And I was the one who inspired everybody to do all these things. And they take credit for everything, and they don't give me any of it. Because I haven't even got to, when I did come back to Fiji after living in Asia for a while. Because 1995, Weller Design Award as well. A week after that, I was flying out to go and live in Surabaya, Indonesia. And I was on a high. I got a photograph of me giving a speech. And Suzanne Yarzabkowska standing next to me. And it's like, you know, like, thank you very much for being here. And it was so wonderful. I don't know what happened to the money, unfortunately, because I flew out. And I went to live in Indonesia, and I sang in Singapore and Hong Kong and Indonesia. I have footage of that as well. It was great. I was still productive and still doing things. And it was wonderful. I liked being able to do that. But went back to Fiji in 1997. Right? Yes, 1997. 1996, 1997. End of Fiji. And with weeks, only days to spare, I was asked to join the fashion show that had been blatantly copied off my things that I had created. So it was the Red Cross Designer Awards. And the reason why the close association is because I had always had a close association with the people of Expose. I was their model, their spokesmodel, and they were always featured in all my shows. And and the partner, the Expose person's partner, was off, and they seemed like they wanted to give up to off. And that's because they are models who. And yet, people out of my life because they're all such liars. They're also bloated. And all the things, I just have cut so many people out of my life. Anyway, I would not have said this on stage, but a lot of these people I've cut out of my life were all sitting around. Would have been great to say this in front of them. But I'm diplomatic on stage. I know what I'm there to do. I'm there to entertain and provide some information and make people laugh and perhaps just forget things a little and just remind people of a wonderful time, period of their lives. So nostalgia. I was there for nostalgia's sake. I feel sad for the people who were there, who didn't get to be reminded of these times in Fiji. I feel sad for them. But anyway, so 1995 and then 1996, 1997, and then I was attached to the Red Cross show for 1997. By this time, really, it was just really me, and I was just sharing credit with the other people. And the model and I, the one who was, had the modeling agency, she and I did do most of the work for this, but the other one loves to say it was their work, etc. So but frankly, it was my work, and it was all. And now you're saying, well, why does it have to be your work, my work? Why can't it be for everybody's work? I thought you said it was for Fiji, because people have lied, and I've been sitting on all of this for close to 30 years now, and I've let people besmirch my name and use my hard work that I did for the greater good and the bigger picture, and I knew why I was doing it. Do you remember this movie called Working Girl, starring Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver? Harrison Ford, I can't remember who directed it. It was a really big hit. We watched it recently. Yeah. It was a good movie, man. 80s movie. Melanie Griffith. Yeah. But how people can just rip ideas off. But if the idea is yours, you can go to source. If it's your idea, you can actually pinpoint where you got something from. And that's why because Melanie Griffith's character really knew where she created this idea from. These people, they don't have any idea. They just rip people off. And I've been lied about and lied about and lied about. And I'm really tired of it. Anna Sweetman gets slept on, but that's her choice. Okay? I've chosen to too because I've been lied about. But now I see how everything's been corrupted and sullied, murky. It's all murky. Here's some truths and facts for you. Here's some truths. I have all the facts. Anyway, let's go. Keep going. I'm talking about what's happened in 1997. Oh, wow. That was a really big fashion event. But I did all the work. I hadn't slept for 10 days. I was done. I was gone. But anyway, so this is where I would have gotten to. I would have talked about that. And I would have talked about then I would have ended it on that I was then back on radio, and also I was the promotions and publicity director of the then Island Networks Corporation.
So this one is...
Okay. Oh, I don't know how long we've been off. Ooh, I don't know.
Checking it, and that's the only time I didn't check it. So maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I hope I can sort of fill in what happened here. Maybe I might have to transcribe it. I'm sorry about that, but can you just do a check to make sure? Sorry about this. This is why we have to check audio. So as I said, I would have then moved on to coming back into late 90s. So 1997 was big. I was doing the Red Cross Designer Awards, and it was really good, really, really good, but really productive time in Suva. We were doing, shows every week. We were dancing every week. Neil Foon and I had Aquarius dance troupe, and I will show you, expanded versions. There's invitations and posters, and I'm there singing, I'm there modeling, I'm there doing this and speaking. So I'm there as a fashion and music and media. I'm representing all three things in so many instances. It's amazing what we could do in Fiji and how I was supported and celebrated and embraced. What a waste to have me there just to, say this is the band that's going to play now. This is what this organizer of the MCs who said, oh, no, us MCs, whatever. She was a terrible MC, by the way. I'm sorry. You were a terrible MC.
Nobody could get the crowd going.
I would have gotten the crowd going. I am known to do this.
Yes. I've seen it twice.
But this is what ego does. And now that's the caliber of presentation Fiji has? No, I don't think so. I come from a time of giants. Not this crap. All she wanted was time to sing in the band herself and then do some bullshit. I'm so angry about how Fiji was represented today, and not by, the hip-hop activist performer was fantastic. The crowd was slack. But the event itself, I love the stalls. I love the setup. The event itself was super good.
It was quite big, bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, bigger than I thought it would be. And it looked good. The stalls looked good. I'm so disheartened. We were going to tell you what was happening with the stalls. I was going to interview people. But I was so crushed by somebody else's ego that they couldn't, come outside of themselves enough. And if it is, as I said, because somebody else sabotaged me, because what has really struck me, that I saw her talk to the other her. And I was like, what's going on here? You don't want me to mention your name? You don't want me to affiliate myself with you anymore? Why? Because I remind you of a time when you were great and you no longer are? And that's why you're hiding? And so you secretly hate me and you're shoving your religion in my face? Because you don't want to face yourself? I have just learned and discovered something truly terrible. A woman I have kept in the highest esteem, the biggest role model, since I was 18, and I'm 52 now. The possibility is there that this is what happened.
Sorry, but you're never wrong about this.
I'm never wrong about these things.
Well, you're never wrong.
Yeah. I'm not always right. I'm pleasantly surprised and wonderfully delighted by being wrong. That's the thing. I'm delighted by being wrong because I very rarely am. This is still going. Anyway, so that's a terrible way. So yes, I was with Island Networks Corporation Limited as the promotions and publicity director and the host of Brunch to Lunch. And this is when I took over the mid-morning to lunchtime show because they needed to spice it up. They wanted to spice it up, change the whole sound of it. Come on, women are modern like me now. They want to hear other things than country music and recipes. All right? They want to hear some other things. Welcome to the Jungle was my theme opening song at 10:30 in the morning. Come on, let's talk about stuff. It's great. I would love another. I've wasted this, darling. Just to heat this up, please. But I really am winding this down. So I was going to talk about the late 90s before I left Fiji. And I was going to talk about then when I was with INCL, Bulla Network. So I was the promotions and publicity director for the entire network, the Bulla Network, and promotions, and host of Brunch to Lunch on Bulla FM, which was the English-speaking station, English language station. It was so great. And then one of my first big things as the promotions and publicity director for INCL Bulla Network was to put on Bulla Rocks the Park. I don't remember the year, the month now, but it was such a big deal, such a great show. And there's no evidence left of it, except for when I remind people, oh yeah, no evidence. They've wiped me out. These people have wiped me out of the archives. Why? Why this insistence of getting rid of me out of history and archives? What's going on? If this isn't blatant racism, I don't know. I talked about this in the lives when we were there. I hold so much history of the urban times of progressive Suva and Fiji, post-coup and pre-coup. And I don't understand. All that radio history gone, darling. Everything I did. Bulla Rocks the Park.
Yeah.
An incredible concert that I produced and pulled together because FM 96 was leading the ratings. And I was like, nah, not under my watch. There was this all-day evening concert of all the bands in Ratusakuna Park, in the smack bang in the city with Suva Harbour as the backdrop. It was so good. I started in the afternoon. The first band to play was the Royal Military Forces Jazz Band, who were, and they invited me to sing with them Route 66, which was another signature song of mine. Oh my God. Anyway, I will expand on this. But all that history gone. Bulla Rocks the Park was an incredible success. I should know because the CEO, the CFO, and everyone called, the meeting. I was just like, congratulations, thank you. You were amazing. This is amazing. The revenue it generated for Bulla Network, not just the English, because all our stars were on that stage. It was amazing. Bands and radio stars. Where is that history, FBC? You people who've been with FBC since the 90s, where is that history? The only things I have left to prove are photographs of me and this, which I hope you see now, that was a photograph because I was the face of Sogo department store when it was more than just a little hotel shop. It was the department store. It is what Tapu's is now. Sogo by Bobby Roniger actually started the whole boutique department store trend that Tapu's is feeding off now. Or, not feeding off, but is doing really, really well with. Prouds was also back then, not anymore. Oof, I don't know what it is now. But I loved Prouds. I loved Morty Pies. They were very supportive of me. Not anymore. They all know who I am. But everyone's so greedy. They want me to do everything free for them. Before they used to throw money at me to do things for them. Anyway. But this is what tyranny does. It makes everybody selfish and all about themselves. Anyway, so I was that. And the only proof I have of Bulla Rocks the Park, I don't even have any proof of it actually, is that I was the face of Sogo, and we used to have big billboards everywhere and full-page newspaper articles and ads, and I'd be there, Sandhya Anand. Promotions, host, brunch to lunch, promotions and publicity director, Bulla Network. And something that says, my chinos or whatever, and then my name, me signing my name. And that's all I have and a photo. But where's all the proof of all the work I did? It's so sad. I'm so saddened by that. And I see them, FBC personnel, post photographs all the time of themselves and all their times, and none of me. And I've sent photographs in of me. So this is what I'm asking now. Why, if the people of Fiji loved me enough to make me famous enough for you to want to use me to sell your newspapers, and as I was saying, the locals were treated really well at Sheraton, but Sheraton Fiji realized, holy cow, we have a celebrity living. It helped bring the locals in, and also it was really good PR for the hotel, having me saunter, sexy, remember, 20s model me, singer, celebrity, past on my way to the pool, and the person who's reading the front page of the newspaper and then seeing and admiring the woman who was the celebrity wearing a bikini. God, for fuck's sake, no one ever asked me for permission, but anyway, and then they look up and it's, what? I had to sign many newspapers. People, and of course they would have thrown it away who's got these newspapers anymore? So, they went back from holiday, went back to their countries and had this newspaper signed by a local celebrity. Who's kept that? No one. So yeah, it was exciting for them that a local celebrity who was a big celebrity was here. So and then they flick the television station on, and that's her. We saw her.
Cool.
So yeah, very cool.
Very good.
So I would have talked about all these things, but I talked about it more from how it was during Fiji, during those times in Fiji. It was all very exciting times. And I'm sorry these coups happened. I'm sorry all these tensions happened. I'm sorry that so much heartbreak and all that happened. Anyway, but this is what I would have liked to talk about at this official Fiji Day, which I was asked to talk at by the esteemed people who asked me. And they wanted me to be at the VIP. We were invited to the VIP event because they wanted me to meet people there. I didn't get introduced to anybody. And albeit we were late because I didn't realize trains weren't running. And I like taking public transport. That's what it's there for. Less traffic on the road, unfortunately. This is why everyone's always late. So yeah, that's it. That was what I would have said. A little bit of history. And I'm sad. I'm sad about that people there right then and there could put aside their hate a little bit and go, you know what? That was a good time she's talking about. They can hate me all you want, but remember that these are good times. And when I don't call them perfect times. We were working through adversity. We had curfews. We had a lot of things against us. 90s Fiji did not have the same kind of freedoms as 80s Fiji. Of course, we didn't have the things. So we no longer had the bookshops and the restaurants, but we had other things. We had good restaurants, absolutely. But we had a bit of a conservatism creeping in, but not too much because I was still on very, very dental floss-like bikinis on runways. We all were. Well, us supermodels of Fiji. You know, I was still taken very seriously as a model wearing as a bikini wearing model and a sari clad wearing newsreader. Very seriously. I was respected by people in Fiji. So, how sad then I didn't get to share all of that. How very, very sad. Anyway, that's it. I think I'm done. I'm getting really hot now. I think we want to eat. We've got food to eat. We've got things to do. We want to chill out because we've got a full-on work day tomorrow, Sunday. I would like to have this up. And, you know, because I'm sad that no one got to hear it.
Me too. I'm sad.
And I was devastated. And if you did watch the live before, then I was very emotional and I was upset and I was crying. And it may be seen like by some people as well. You're just having that feeling because you wanted to be, you know, a show off on stage. And that's not at all what I wanted to do. Because I got to tell you, the first few times I have emceed and stuff like that, I was behind the scenes, I was behind curtains. First time I sang, I was, you know, I had my back to the audience. First time I went out to a runway, I had racist, you know, shit thrown at me. I don't want to go on stage, but I have talents and things that
You should be on stage. You should be because you can.
So I'm so sad that people of Fiji, old and new, from those times, from these times, missed out on some things really valuable. And they go and celebrate the old supermodels, who look like plastic now. They're desperate to be relevant because they're so damaged. You know, people celebrate people like them, and I'm just an afterthought. Oh, well, I'm just an emotional old woman, and I think I have far more relevance to myself and my husband than to anyone else, clearly, except then why would that complete stranger young woman say to me, you have something, you have an aura, I want to hear you speak. So I don't know what people want, darling.
People don't know what they want.
I know what I want now is I want to stop talking for now, but I'm not ever going to stop producing content and creating. I don't need to be famous. Obviously, I'm not going to be given stages. People don't want me. People ask me for what? To do a power play. Now I've got me thinking that what if I was asked just to be rejected?
Oh my God.
if I have to unpack it further, what if it goes that deep? What if I was simply asked just so I could be power played with like that? Because everyone loves saying how much, everyone loves saying shit about me. So it's perhaps a really good thing that I'm not world famous, because you know how much people have hated these Eurostream people, and how much people hate Beyonce, Michelle Obama. All these brown and black women hate them. And it's like, I hate you brown and black women for hating these other brown and black women. They're so vehemently awful. But I don't know how they manage to do it. Oh my God. Some of these women are alone, except they have their partners. But, I couldn't imagine being world famous and being me like this. But to be world famous, you've got to really, really want fame. I really didn't want fame. I just wanted stages to showcase my talents. That's all. If that made me famous, that's on you, not me. So, yeah. Okay. No one's going to give us stages. No one's going to give me stages. No one wants me on their stages. Not even on these old musicians' stages. Oh, they want to, actually, no, the musicians want me on their stage to sing, but I don't want to sing. I don't want to sing. I want to be there to photograph and film. Actually, the musicians always ask me to come on their stages. Please, they're not even their stages. Come back onto stage is what they're saying. Come and sing. Let's go on tour. You sing. I don't need fame that much. And I don't really, singing's not my thing. It was always just something I wanted to do, and I knew I could express something and showcase my love of fashion and style and wear Fiji designers all over the world while I sing. In Hong Kong, I used to wear all Fiji designers, and I'll expand on that later. Anyway, I'm hungry, my beloved. We're going to have a Fiji-style dinner. And even tomorrow, because it's not actually Fiji Day yet, that's on Tuesday, so we'll do some stuff all throughout, and of course we've got stuff happening on the Stylander. So we have created our own platforms. It took me half a century. It took me 35 years of a professional career to find my DNA match in every aspect, in every way. So you and I were meant to meet to create platforms that one day, hopefully, more and more people see. We gave out some covers there, but it was like I was on such a down. I was feeling so low, because I would have liked to talk about Stylander. I would have liked to say, look, we've got something. We've created something. We've taken all the skills that are the result of us being from Fiji, and you being educated in Papua New Guinea, and me being, growing up in Fiji at a time, and a professional career at a time when it was so progressive. We've taken all these skills that we've refined and honed over the years, and we've created platforms for everybody, and to shine a spotlight on Pacific, on Melanesia, and on Fiji. I would have liked to say that. So, hey, support us, because we're supporting everyone. When I say support us, I don't mean us. I mean, let's support everyone here. Community. We're creating a platform of community for common unity. We don't have to be friends. I don't want friends. I've got all the friend I need. But I didn't even get a chance to say any of that. Oh, darling. But I can only think now. It's not my loss. But I was so sad.
I guess they'll always want to do it that way.
And that's fine.
But I don't know. Babe.
But I really hope that one day you don't really realize how badly it was your loss. Because you have, by your insecure actions, robbed people of some information that may have resonated with someone, that could have helped spark something that could have really ignited a revolution. I've gone about this saying a long way that perhaps having me up there could have inspired someone to do something. I never want to take the credit for shit like that. But I think you've robbed the people of Fiji of something today by your insecure actions. And you know who you are if you're watching this. And I stand by my word, because I also don't have anything to be scared of. I don't like confrontation. I really don't. I just tend to just cut people off. But what are you going to come at me with? Because I saw everything. And now what? What are you going to do? I'm 52. What are you going to do? I don't want your stages. If I don't mean anything to you, to whatever, it's not about me. I'm a walking history bank. I didn't spend my years drunk. I remember things so clearly for everybody and about everybody. But anyway, look, what's the point? We'll just tell the stories on our platforms. If you want to hear it, they're here. If you're not, oh well, that's your whatever life. You're too busy. We're all busy. We're all really busy. These stories are slow burns, and we'll have them there for the future. We'll have them there as archives of our own for people who want to know about histories of Fiji, urban, modern history. What actually happened in the years after the coup? First coups. That, yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I only had an hour. That's all I had. It was only an hour, and I didn't even get that. Anyway, look, maybe it was all for good reason, bigger picture. But now I've been left feeling like I can't trust anybody. Now, unfortunately, the actions of one person. This is why CEO people are supposed to be held accountable. Because the actions of the people lower than you, they're supposed to be representative of who you are. So you've got to choose your team, your people, your role models, your associations wisely. And you've got to be able to trust them. I don't like being not trusted by people I have aligned myself with. So that's a real problem I have with people. Like, don't question my trust. Because I have aligned with you, and I will make sure I will use every single aspect of me to always represent you with full, truth and fact. So that's what I've done. So when people like lower down act like that, I see how close they are to the people who are the higher ups, I then question the higher ups. Like, then you know what's going on, and you've allowed this to happen. Then I'm now seeing this as a real power play. I was just asked to be publicly humiliated, is what I've taken from this. So, okay. I don't fucking care because I have truth and fact on my side. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Ostracize me? Gosh. I go on to all these stages alone. There were people who hate me in that audience for no reason other than I exist. I haven't done anything to these people. I just exist, and I refuse to, destroy myself because they want to. I love who I am. I was abused enough. I wasn't ever going to abuse myself. It's just that I punish myself. And I think that I'm unlikable and that everyone hates me. So I operate from that basis. And when I get proven right, I just get hurt. So I don't know what this world wants, because what we do know is that things aren't ever going to change. They're going backwards so badly.
It's clear.
And that was the representation of Fiji today. Anyway, okay, great. So thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry this is all in, I guess you're going to, and when I say I don't care, I do care. And I'm always going to conduct myself in a respectful manner. And I'm always going to be just by me solely. I'm not going to talk for Dwayne. I am representative of where I've come from. And I'm always going to, shine a spotlight on Fiji. And whether or not people want it, well, I guess some people are always weird. People in Fiji are so used to going where the tide goes, they wait to see who's trending before they go that way. I'm always trending if it behooves, if it's beneficial to the person. So I really don't know what today was all about, other than what I have just told you what it was all about. But anyway, these are the things I was going to say. And now I know the truth of everything, I think. And I am now respectfully withdrawing myself from any of this. And I'm going to continue doing the same things we do and talking on the lives of our days and talking to you about Fiji and loving what Fiji is doing in France, not just with the Fiji rugby team, but personnel from Fiji, loving what we do. I met my DNA match. We were always just meant to just create things. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, there's nothing I can do about that. Maybe you'll hear this 10, 20, 30 years from now. Maybe 50 years, 60 years from now when we're dead. And then people will be like, holy cow, look at these histories of Fiji. This woman, And so if you are listening to us and me 50 years from now, I don't know what to say to you. I hope it's not, I'm sorry. I hope that it's amazing in Fiji. If this is when this is destined to be heard, I wanted Fiji to be amazing today. But if it's 50 years from now, and I'll be 102, and I hope I'm alive, but I don't think I'll be, because I don't want to lose my body, and my body has been battered from childhood. So I don't know if it'll be able to last that long, and I don't really want to be around to not function that way. So, but anyway, if you're listening from that time, let's just say you are. And people in this present time, you can think I'm crazy, or you're probably not even going to listen to this. I don't care. You know, well, I hope for you that it's a really great time. And it's really progressive. And you have the best of all worlds. And Fiji still is the first country in the world, or one of the first countries to see the day. Oh gosh, I can't even imagine. I don't know how are you all driving in Fiji? I mean, I know people still think we drive around in go-karts and bicycles. I don't know. 50 years from now, who is going to be the Fijian? The modern Fijian? I don't know. I hope it's the proud Kaiviti, but who is that? Because you, as a quarter indigenous and half Indo-Fijian, don't feel like you can say you are.
No, of course I can.
But your cousins who are half white can.
Yeah, that's not me, white people.
Wow, I forgot Ratu Ben Ryan.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
But he deserves it. Don't start me on the other one who's called a Ratu, self-proclaimed one. Like, all right, expat boy, go sell our country even more. Anyway, we're done. I'm done. Thanks for being here. I'll ask you to, anyway, no, had I finished saying something to the person in the future?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think I have. I don't know. This is how we were. This is how we were living.
And this is as now. If you're in the
Pacific. So Dwayne wore this, and I would have loved to talk about that too, because I would say my husband is wearing a very familiar logo. It was beloved and loved by all the Air Pacific flight attendants back in the 80s and 90s. Man, they were great. So much fun. So all this gone. And I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about all the history. Person 50, 60 years from now, let's just say, 50, 60 years from now. I'm sorry about all that history that's gone, but I hope you can understand a little bit from what I'm saying right now. And do please join us. Do find our archives on STV, the Stylander magazine, because by the time it gets to you, I really, really hope our the Stylander, is where we are taking it. So they'll be there for you to watch and learn and get some, information and ideas from, be inspired by this vintage era like this. By your time will be mega vintage. And this hat I own, hopefully. And, so I hope it is a really wonderful time in Fiji. And I hope you, honor I won't have any descendants. We won't have descendants, but I hope you do honor what the people prior, the trailblazers did. They're your ancestors too, the trailblazers, not just by flesh and blood. The paths that were blazed too are your ancestors. And that's how I consider myself. And I will assign a word to me that I had only said to someone yesterday talking on the phone, because I'd like to interview this person, and I consider this person a future elder. And I would have liked to believe that that's how I am, in my 50s, a future elder. But I never want to be an auntie. Please, never call me auntie. That is absolutely neuters a woman. as respectful as it may be. But anyway, I don't know what I don't know, but I do like seeing future elders. But by the time you are listening to this 56 years from now, I don't know what I'll be. I may not be remembered. I don't know how you'll find this. Maybe somehow the star endures and you'll decide to go find out, well, who founded this? And then you'll find us. And you'll find me crying here like an idiot because I refuse to be thick-skinned, but I have a core of steel, and that's what counts. And so even though people try to destroy me and negate me, I will still do the things I do, and I have steel with me. My DNA match is the core of steel I am. He's steel. And so we are steel and loving, and we're velvet, and we're marshmallow, and we're steel, and we're all things good, and we create things together. And that's why whatever you're watching this on, holograms, etc., that's how the style of it came into being. Because I met my DNA match, and this idea for a magazine that I have had in my mind since the 90s that people stole from me. This journalist who's, ticks all the right boxes, so she's taken by ABC Pacific and told as a representative journalist of Fiji. What an embarrassment. I trained her somewhat. She's such a traitor to the country. That's me. I'm done. For Fiji, ever Fiji. I cried at that anthem. I'm crying here. I don't know what the anthem is going to be like in your time, but I hope you cry because it means something. Bye.